Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Show. So happy to have you with me this evening, a little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, I was thinking about so many different things I could chat with you about this evening. And I thought, you know what? There's news happening and stuff, but you know what? No, not news, because this weekend I saw a video that was put out by Breaking Points. And boy, did it trigger me. I was absolutely triggered by this video. And I said, I have to talk about this because it is such utter garbage affecting literally my city, my state, and probably the entire country. So I wanted to bring it up and show you exactly what I was talking about. All right. So if I can, let me try, if I can, to cover it. It's talking about Zohran Mamdani's supermarket idea. You guys know what that is, right? He wants to have government-run supermarket ideas. And one of the guys on Breaking Points decided to do a video about it and to tell us how great it is. I'm not joking. And to try to give us some details about it. That's right. And they're not. And it's bad. And it's actually embarrassing. And it shouldn't be happening. But it is. So let me give you a little bit of this, if I could, right now, to show you what I mean. And we can maybe all be upset together. Or maybe some of you will like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've missed it. And you can tell me if I have made an error and actually I've missed it. Here is the gentleman who's going to start telling us about how awesome this stuff is.
You're disappointed. I get it. But remember, you clicked on this video because you thought it was interesting, and maybe you wanted to confirm that Zohran Mamdani's idea for city-owned grocery stores was obviously a great solution to food deserts and affordability. Or you wanted to confirm that it's a ridiculous plan that will fail, just like in the Soviet.
I didn't do that. You are assuming that I went to one left or right side. I did not. I wanted to hear what was your story. To me, it seemed like this is going to be an interesting one. I thought for a minute I did. And I know some of you are like, Larry, you're silly. Why would you think such a thing? I thought for a second that maybe, just maybe, they would actually do something kind of fair. I did think that. Anyway, at least you have a video now.
Union. And if you're in the latter camp, you already know you're not alone.
Yes.
I'm in front of Gristides, and the real estate guy who owns this place, John Katsimatidis, wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the idea of city-owned grocery stores will drag us down a path toward the breadlines of the old Soviet Union.
I think that is.
So he's saying that if we go down this road and we keep going down this road, that it's going to bring us down to the old Soviet Union. And this guy, for those who don't know, for those who don't live in New York City, Gristides is one of the most popular supermarket chains in the city, right? He owns them all. And there's a reason why he does, and he'll explain that. You'll see. Now, this person's a historian, and she's going to tell you how you're all dumb.
It's like a completely overblown reaction.
I would say that is mildly hysterical reaction.
Hysterical. You guys are all dumb. What were you thinking? See, these professors, they know better than you, because you know they do.
That was Julie Hessler and Wendy Gold. They're experts in the Soviet Union. I sat down with them to actually ask if any of these comparisons to the Soviet Union made any sense.
Now, do any of them make any sense? That's what he's saying, the comparisons. I want to make sure you understand what he's saying. What he's telling you now, how he's prepping this is, see, I'm going to show you how this is not like the Soviet Union at all. That's because remember, any socialism, or communism that anybody wants now, it's not the real one. See, that was the wrong stuff over there. This is different. Okay, Mike, it's different.
I mean, Zoran's talking about 5 stores in a city with literally 1,000 supermarkets.
Okay, he says like, just do what you care. Just 5 stores, 1,000 supermarkets. So if that's true, one of 2 things is true. 1, it can't make an impact, so why bother? Option 1. Option 2, the rest are coming, right? This is the perfect amount of just dismissiveness. Stop. It's 5. Stop.
1,002 as of 2023. So why does this freak people out so much? Yeah. But at the same time,
you dummies, I'm gonna dismiss you.
When they say we've tried it before and it's failed, They're right. City-owned grocery stores have failed a whole bunch
City-owned grocery stores have failed. That's what he says. It's actually not true. He's actually lying, but that's fine. Watch.
of times. Baldwin, Florida, Erie Market, Kansas. You might have.
Yes, in other places they failed. In New York City, they have not. We haven't had them. He's going to tell you we have. It's a lie, but that's okay. I'm going to explain in a second.
Just seen reports about empty shelves in a Sunfresh supermarket in Missouri.
So right now, they've been trying it, and it's failing miserably.
Cities poured cash into these places, and they didn't make it, which really sucks for the residents of these towns, because the whole point of these stores is to address food deserts.
And this is the reason why I'm bothered by it. The whole point is to address food deserts. True. That's accurate. And the problem is they said, oh, what we'll do, we've made a food desert. Okay, got it. So should we fix the policies and issues that created the food desert? No. Let's just have the government buy a store. That was their answer. This is why you see me get so angry about government answers. Because the government answer is Band-Aid run by government, not fix the problems that created the food desert in the first place. We don't do that. This is why Mamdani's idea is bad. Will it work? No. But even if it would work, that isn't the point. The point is, why do we have food deserts? So let's change those rules and regulations so we don't have food deserts. Here's what I'm sure about grocery store owners. I know this, 100%. I know this. They would love for you to buy their food. They would like that. That's why they're grocery store owners. They would like you to buy their food. And something else, grocery store owners. They don't care what food's in there as long as you buy it. That's all they care about. So if you say you'd rather have this type of ethnic food, this type of healthy food, this type of unhealthy food, this type of bland food, they'll put it in the store as long as you want to buy it. They will do it. That's how grocery store owners work. I'm 100% sure of that. So we could fix this the world so that grocery store owners would rush in and let you buy their food, or we can do this. And the problem is, as always, when government does it, as he's saying right now, it creates the worst illusion, the illusion that we're trying to fix things, that this is the only way to fix. Now, because of that, guys like him go, and that's so terrible. Now we can't fix it. No, now your government solution didn't work, as it never does. So now there's no solution. This is why this is so harmful. These are the same types of people who go, you can't make a, you can't gut the Department of Transportation. You'll have no transportation. You will still have trucks, whether the government transportation bureau goes away or is cut or whatever. Trucks will still exist. You can still have grocery stores. Whether there's a government grocery store or not, you can still have grocery stores. But in his mind, you cannot. Because government is the only way. Government is the answer. There's nothing else he can even imagine. He can't comprehend anything else. That's the sad part.
As people who live in food deserts will tell you, routine grocery shopping can end up being a huge headache.
This is true. He's not wrong. But there's food deserts. That wasn't always true. Now, all of a sudden, that's true. Could we change the policies that would allow for no food deserts? No. Let's just have government try to solve randomly. Let's do that instead. Yeah, that's the problem.
Without transportation, I have to call and ask someone to come and take me to the grocery store, or maybe catch the bus, and it takes like 45 minutes to an hour just to get to the grocery store.
And what happens when you live in a food desert is that the amount of produce you buy goes down because it's such a hassle to get, and the amount of processed food you buy goes up because dollar stores and gas stations might be the only places in walking distance you can go to get food.
But not just that. See, he says that, but doesn't put up the other piece. Well, he doesn't say now. He'll say later, but he won't say it now. Because again, he wants to create a narrative of government's the only way of fixing this. The other aspect he doesn't bring up, which he brings up later, which is price. People don't just buy from Dollar General or whatever because it's processed food. That isn't the only reason. It is a reason. Processed food is tasty. Whether you like to eat it, I don't eat it, but it doesn't matter. It is tasty. People do like it. It tastes good. But the other thing is, it's cheaper. Why is it so expensive to have a grocery store? We're going to cover that in a second.
You might not be able to buy a bag of apples, but you'll always be able to find a bag of Doritos. This is America. But you know,
and then he blames America because America bad. This guy, yeah. What I'm most bothered by, of all the things I'm bothered, and I am clearly bothered. Mike, I'm going to be good. I'm not that triggered. I'm going to be good. I'm breathing. Mike's probably texting me right now. Breathe. Okay. I'm going to breathe. It's fine. Okay. Is this his breaking points? Which was supposed to be like Crystal and Sagar, like left and right. They're almost becoming unwatchable. You might as well just call this Crystal and Friends. For this, we should stop calling breaking points. Just call it Crystal and Friends. She now runs the entire channel. It's now Crystal and Friends.
John Catsimatidis actually has more in common with Zohran than I bet he'd like to admit.
Okay, if you told Catsimatidis that to his face, one of you is going to jail.
The same dynamics that caused grocery stores to leave towns and food deserts to emerge hit Catsimatidis as well. And
yes. The crappy environment. Yes, okay. You're saying it.
At a certain point, the Grocers owner had to make a choice. And it was the same choice made by every small city that opted to open their own grocery store. Because this is not just a story about public versus private ownership.
True.
But about big business versus small business.
True.
People who get left holding the bag. This is city-owned grocery stores.
He's not wrong.
So the thing that never gets talked about, which kind of makes the whole debate a little silly, is that before there were private supermarkets, this whole country was municipally owned markets.
Municipally owned. Hear what he just said. Municipally owned markets. That's what he just said. Now, prior he said this is what he said. He said we had city-owned grocery stores. Oh, he's changed his words. Watch.
Was the main way people got their food. So
these markets are the main way people got their food.
Fear that socialism or whatever is going to spread because Zohran wants to build a network of city-owned grocery stores designed.
Wants to build a network. Thank you. It's not just 5 stores. He has to tell on himself throughout this entire thing because he knows. This is why he set it up. He goes, you came here because you want to know I'm right or you want to know I'm wrong. So he comes here immediately trying to get you to break to one side or another so you'll ignore the details that he completely jumps around. He jumps around, changes stories, the entire thing. This guy is utterly full of shit. And he on purpose makes you go to one side or another so you won't pay attention. Oh, brother, but I pay attention. I pay attention.
For access and affordability.
He wants to build a network. So it's not just 5 stores, is it? Oh, it isn't just 5 stores. He wants to build a network. Yes, my friend, he does.
That already happened. We already did that.
We already did that. We already built a series of city-owned grocery stores. That's what he just said, right? Watch this lie.
For decades and decades. Markets were set up for access and affordability by municipalities, like they were a public utility. Because why would...
Like they were a public utility. This is what he's saying. I have to repeat this because I'm going to show you how full of shit he is in about 5 minutes. But it's what he said. He said own grocery stores. Then he says public markets. Which one is it? And then he says like utilities. Okay.
Food be different from water or sanitation? In fact, to give you an idea.
Okay, sanitation were private companies. So was water.
Of what the ethos used to be. In Boston, like everywhere else, businesses wanted to privatize the market system. And
of course.
Listen to the response they got.
Okay, businesses wanted to privatize these systems. Okay, that's what businesses want to do. You shouldn't be mad at businesses for that. You can disagree, but that's normal. But in his eyes, that is by default evil. How dare you privatize this? That's why I said they want to do it, evil people. No, business owners want to do this. Okay, so a bunch of business owners in early Boston, in early New York, wanted to do so. Well, if you're early Boston, early New York, he's talking 1800s. I'm not joking. That's the time frame he's talking about. 1800, 1800s, early 1900s. He's talking about that time frame. Were there? Was every business massive? No, most were small mom and pops. So people wanted to start to serve their own community. So his response.
Laissez-faire was inappropriate for the supply and distribution of meat and vegetables, where government has no greater duty than to regulate.
You hear that? Laissez-faire is inappropriate. Don't do laissez-faire. Don't do easy. We want government to regulate this. Huh? Who would say something like that?
The Boston Committee on Free Markets said that.
The Boston Committee on Free Markets said that. So basically, it's a chamber of commerce run by oligarchs. What do oligarchs always want? Regulation. Always. Why? You will regulate the small guys out of business. It's not rocket science, homeboy. It's called corporate capture. It's been going on since then. Why else would a business group ask for regulation? It makes no sense, right? Unless they want to have corporate capture, which of course they wanted. For someone to think, this is his logic. See, he thinks, of course, these business owners would think laissez-faire doesn't work. Of course. Since when? Since when? But in his eyes, government centralized planning is, of course, right. So, of course, you think that. Only idiots wouldn't think that.
During the Gilded Age. So food was just a public good, and it was up to
food. He said food was a public good.
Lawmakers to guarantee it.
And lawmakers had to guarantee it. None of that's true. He made that up. Not one law says it is a right. Not one law says lawmakers have to guarantee it. No laws in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, today. No laws say that. Food is not a right. That's not a thing. He made that up literally.
Probably didn't succeed 100% of the time.
It didn't succeed 100% of the time, so does famines.
But their greatest failure was when they finally handed it over to capitalism to do.
Their greatest failure, he said, I have to keep saying this because he's going to contradict himself immediately. Greatest failure was when they gave it to evil capitalism, because that's evil. By the way, this is Breaking Points. I'm sorry. By the way, this is Crystal and Friends.
Do whatever it wanted.
Whatever it wanted.
And a lot of the issues today are a product of that. So let's go back to a time in New York when there were way more than the handful of markets Zohran's proposing.
Okay.
When public markets were just the primary way people got their food. They were strategically placed, and the scale of the individual market depended on the...
Okay, now these are private market setup. I mean, public market setup, yes. These aren't stores. This is the part that he's lying about. These aren't stores. These were zoning areas. This is just a city zoning it as a market. That's it. The city didn't own these markets. It wasn't, the city didn't provide the food. The city, none of this was a right. This wasn't a public, you could just go there and get free food because the government guaranteed it. Everything he just said is a lie. And then he shows it. Watch.
Population of the area. So the densest parts of the city had the biggest markets, and more sparsely populated parts had smaller markets. But
makes sense. But the market is not a supermarket, nor is it a store. It is simply an area that people can go to. That's what it is. It's zoning issues. There's no ownership of stores here.
The point is that everyone in the city would be within a manageable walk from a market that basically had everything they needed. But here's a wrinkle.
A market that they needed. Huh.
Butcher's meat was a really big part of the American diet at the time, and the butcher's trade was heavily regulated. Markets were composed.
There's the market right there. What do you see there? A bunch of stalls. Each stall is a store. Did the government own the stores? No. The government simply provided a place for the stores to go because New York City was growing. So they had to create an area. They just zoned a spot and said, hey, stores, go there. How is it a government-run store? It's not. How is it a government-owned store? It's not. How is it a government guaranteeing food? It isn't. How is it a government making a public utility? It isn't. He's utterly full of shit. None of the things he said was true. He made them up to make you believe something. This man is utterly lying, and Breaking Points went, yeah, let's put this guy out.
A bunch of stalls for various vendors.
Stalls for vendors. His words. So they just rented a spot. That's the store. That's the actual store, not the market.
Butcher stalls acted as sort of anchors for public markets. Other vendors would...
For public markets. See how he says that?
Just naturally fill out the surrounding stalls. And
they would naturally fill out the surrounding stores, meaning the free market would just fill out stalls, meaning people who wanted something would just show up and sell stuff. Yes, called the free market. That's how that works. That's how that works.
Importantly, butchers were only allowed to operate in these city-owned stalls. As the city grew, the stalls were supposed to expand, and they did, but there was lag time, and the lag time would get worse and worse.
Oh, the lag time would get worse. So the government, what he just said, the government could not react fast enough to the market. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. See that? But that was the mistake, giving it to that free market. Daniel, thank you for $10, my friend. Food deserts. The premise behind municipal groceries are a convenient, contrived concept. Buy KFC, get more KFCs. Ignore KFC, and you make way for Whole Foods and related outlets. Yes, you're not wrong. This is the whole point. Grocery stores, people who own grocery stores, I know, you know too, Daniel, people own grocery stores. They don't care what you buy in the grocery store. They just want you to buy the food that they get into the grocery store. So if you say, hey, I would like lots of chicken, they will put chicken in the grocery store. You say, I don't want chicken, I want potatoes. They'll put potatoes in the grocery store. Whatever. I would like this ethnic food. I would like this kind of health food. They will do so. Why? They just want you to buy the food. It's that evil market. See, but when the government owns it, the government will decide exactly what you're getting and when you're getting it. And when has that ever gone wrong? With the exception of always, it never's a problem ever. You're right, Daniel. Yeah. So 100%. Let me grab a couple of you guys' comments before I keep going. I'm going to be triggered. I'm being good. Mike, don't be mad at me. I'm being good. I am being good. I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Kim goes on to say, sounds like a stupid idea to me. Seems like shoplifting might be justified more in the criminal mind, seeing how the government has been ripping off the taxpayers for decades. I think it's a bad idea. That's one of the reasons why the other ones fail. Kim, you've read that perfectly. When it's a government-run store, you have more theft. Yes. And that's what's happening in Missouri. Literally what's happening. You have read that perfectly. That's how it works. Because, well, it's big government. Who cares? I can just rob. I don't care. And they do it. Right? And one of the reasons why so many places have food deserts and these stores leaving, they're going to wind up, if they keep doing this, actually having pharmacy deserts if they don't stop. This is going to be worse. Why? Because of theft. Because of theft. Because we weren't prosecuting anybody. We finally stopped that. We finally learned how stupid that was. But yeah. So, all righty. Let's see. Mike is here. He says, in Kansas City, where this comes from, shelves were notoriously empty. Food rotted in the store, bad service, and with loss of millions to taxpayers. Yes. Yes. 100%. In New York City, the negative will be exponential. No lies detected, Mike. Right on the money. Right on the money. 100%. It is embarrassingly bad how this is going to go. It's not good. So, all righty. Let's see here. Rick says, when we keep referring to anything government does, social democracy or social welfare as socialism, we make people think socialism sounds pretty good. True. So when real socialists attain power, people find it the hard way, usually after liberty has been stripped and they're starving in a totalitarian hell. Accurate. Accurate. Yes, it is. It's nutty. So let me grab a couple more of these before I keep going. Excuse me. Let's see here. Shelly says, I'm late, but not that late. I got a late notification from YouTube. Better late than never. Yes, that is true. I'm glad. Andrea says, but these are people that don't trust oligarchy. How can they trust the oligarchy to run these grocery stores? See, this is the issue, Andrea. When it's government, it's not oligarchy. Just cause. Stop thinking, Andrea. Just cause. And when it's government, it's good. It's not monopoly either when it's government. It's not monopoly, not oligarchy when it's government, because reasons. And stop thinking again, Andrea. You're getting on my nerves. Enough of the thinking. It just is. Okay? It just is. Oh, God. Mike says, I lived in Moscow in 91. I know firsthand about stores there. There were thousands that were, like I said, hold on. There were thousands that were there that can say historians not needed. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but yes, they're going to have a couple of those here. He added historians because he wanted to act like he knew what he was talking about and he wanted to have some people there, but he bounces around all day long. So yeah, that's how that works. So, all righty. Let me grab here if I could. Dave says, there's a person lived under Soviet rule that understands grocery stores in the Soviet Union. Yeah, they're going to talk about that. Yes. Yes. So let me keep going.
Now, the other thing is that the organized meat industry opposed the system entirely because they didn't want to be regulated.
Yes, because he just said, I want to be clear about this. He just said it was having problems keeping up. He said that, not me. So they found that. And then he goes, and then these crazy meat people, they oppose this system because they want to be regulated. So they could sell more meat to people who wanted meat. How evil of them. See, again, this guy's ideology is so clearly left, so clearly in that world that just because you don't want to be regulated, you are by default evil because you want to sell your meat. You are by default evil. They just want you to buy more. People probably wanted to buy meat. He said that a lot of people had, butchered meat in those days. Okay, people wanted it. So let them sell it. You can't, because government says only here, only there, and it can't catch up. And the meat guys are like, hey, I got some more cows and chickens I want to sell. You can't, because you can only sell it here. And so he's like, it's because they didn't want to be regulated. Because they wanted to sell more meat to people. How is that a bad thing? Clearly it is.
Now, by the 1830s, investments were really falling behind urban growth. New York went from 30,000 people in 1790 to 300,000 people in 1840.
And it goes, investments fell down. Why? Because it was based upon government. Now, didn't the meat guys want to not get regulated? Why? Because they would have put money into it. That's why. Yes. Well, Ira, you can't, private companies can never build infrastructure. Who do you think built the subway in New York City? It wasn't the city. It was private industry. Yes, the subways were owned by private companies. That's true. Yes, true story. The subways were owned by private companies and did a fine job of moving people around Manhattan for 5 cents. Then it got more expensive. So they said, you know what? We want to raise the price from 5 cents to 10 cents. That's when the city took advantage and took over the system. Because people were like, I don't want to pay another 10 cents. And the city took it over and made it worse in every way. Still raised the price anyway, took over control. Everything was worse, made everything worse. Because people didn't want to pay 5 more cents. And the government just went in and took it. Yes, if you're going to make it up, do your own homework. That actually happened. Daniel, thank you for the $5. He says, if Mamdani's misrepresenting municipal grocery justifications, there's no way he'll be transparent about their statistics when in operation. Also true. Or Daniel, what he'll do is he'll make excuses. And you're going to see a lot of that here. So many excuses. Well, they would be great, Daniel, except this thing. They would be great except that thing. And it'll be one of two things. Some reason evil capitalist billionaire, number one, or two, an ism or a phobia. That's how it works. That'll be both reasons. Maybe there'll be an ism and a evil billionaire capitalist, whatever. That'll be so. He might tell the truth if he can blame the evil ism, phobia, or capitalist or something. Maybe then he might be honest. Maybe, but you're probably right.
50 years for 1,000% increase in population. And the government just didn't anticipate that kind of.
The government didn't anticipate. So he admits it. The government couldn't do that. You know who tends to figure out how to service their customers better? Usually private business. And when it can't, someone else jumps aboard and services them. Somehow. That happens all the time. In markets that are unregulated. Yeah. It's funny. And you look at all the black markets, utterly unregulated, they somehow service all their clients. Isn't it crazy? Yeah. It's crazy. There's always like enough drugs to go around everybody. It's weird how that works. They always anticipate exactly how much need there is. And it's always there. Isn't that crazy? How black markets keep working? How every time people who want like illegal guns or something else wind up having those guns, even though it's unregulated. It's crazy how that works literally every single time. How the market always finds a way. Sometimes. No, every time. Always. And this guy's like, the government couldn't do it, so I guess people starve. That's his thought process.
Growth. So as people moved north through Manhattan, the city failed to accommodate them with
the city. So he's admitting this doesn't work. He's admitting it. First off, he lied. It wasn't government-run grocery stores. That was a lie. It was markets. So it was regulating the markets is what it was. And now he's admitting that regulating the markets didn't work. So what should we do? Give them grocery stores.
Which empowered the private butcher shops that wanted fewer restrictions. And from there was just a downward spiral.
Hold on. Utterly, I'm almost speechless on how stupid that was. And then he says it with such, and it's insanely stupid. So he literally gives you a litany of how the government was failing. You watched it. You heard it. He's telling you how the government's failing. And the government failed and couldn't do it. And then these crazy butcher people took it and they had to make things work. And it's all downhill from there. Why is it downhill? Downhill because government lost power. That's his definition of downhill. Not downhill that the people of New York were actually serviced and could actually eat. No. That's It doesn't matter. What's wrong with you, Shelly? Stop acting like that matters. People eating. What's wrong with you? That's not what matters. What matters is the government lost power. So all downhill.
And by 1843, the meat industry won and got themselves deregulated. And
by 1843, they won. They beat everybody and were able to actually serve the city. What? They won.
could just open shops anywhere in the city they want.
They could open up shops anywhere in the city they wanted. And what did you see there in that picture right there? That was a family butcher. Fuck this guy. That was a family butcher. That was some family making money, probably an immigrant family, coming probably from like Italy or Ireland or someplace, probably something like that, came to this country, opened up a damn butcher shop, and are making money and growing that community and sending their kids off to school and to work and probably to college for the first damn time. He's like, and they can just open anywhere. Government lost power. What? And he's like, see? Yeah, why is that a bad thing?
As butcher shops became more diffuse, so did everything else. Private shops would siphon residents away from public markets.
Hear what he just said. Private shops would siphon away from public markets. Why is that a bad thing? So the private shop run by a family in a local community is serving that community so effectively that people would rather go to that shop. Literally what he's saying. So maybe I'm an Italian butcher, right? And I live in an Italian community and I provide the Italian wares and the Italian meats that my Italian community wants. And it's family run. I probably hire like my cousin and whatever. Life is good. Everybody's happy. That's a bad thing in his eyes. Why? Because you're not going to the government run one. Why? Because government. So the private sector created a better market system that people wanted, that supported local people and families. You'd have to pay the government for this. You could just do it if you wanted to. On your own, the private people supported it. And in his eyes, that's a bad thing. It was diffuse. That was bad. His words. And it went downhill. He said downhill. What a horrible human being this guy is.
Thus, less business for the other vendors. The system was becoming a smaller part of people's lives, and the demand wasn't universal anymore. And that
demand wasn't universal anymore. How dare you not fall in line? All right, Dave, buy the meat I tell you to meat. Buy. You get to make your own decisions. Who the hell do you think you are? I will tell you what meat to buy and when to buy it and where to buy it. And when you don't do that, you're the bad guy. That's what this guy just said.
that's a really important detail. And by 1855, there was no connection between the size of the markets and the neighborhoods they were meant to serve.
Okay, were people starving to death? No, that wasn't a thing. Were people not being serviced? No. His issue, he says, is these markets were nowhere near, it didn't matter what the size was. Why? Because they were necessary. The government markets were not necessary. So they went away. And he's mad at that. He's mad that the government markets went away. The people there didn't want them. They wanted local family businesses to buy their groceries from. Yes. And he's like, that's a bad thing. Why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing? Liberal Lady says, word on the street is that Larkin Rose will be in a Sharpe Way Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Yes, that is true. This is the truth. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. ET, Larkin Rose will be on the show tomorrow. We'll be talking about things like voting and such, and you will figure this out. It'll be fun. He'll be excited. He's got some good ideas and some crazy ones. It'll be good either way. So please, guys, join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. if you would. In addition, this weekend, I will be up in New York State running around live Thursday through Sunday. So there will be no show on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. None of those days, as I will be upstate New York. Hold on, I'll tell you where I'll be if I can find myself. I'll be putting this out on my social media coming up here. But I will be in Madison County Thursday evening. I will then be in Watertown Friday afternoon. I'll be at Mimi's Drive in Oswego on Friday night. I'll be at the New York State Fair. Believe it or not, I will be there Saturday afternoon. I'll be in Johnstown Saturday night. I will then be someplace in Washington County, I'm not sure where yet, on Sunday, and someplace in the Hudson Valley on Sunday. I'll figure this out, but I will be doing several stops, probably about 6 or 7 stops, maybe 8, depends. I will be doing that, and I'll be in Utica in the morning at a radio show. So I'll be doing a bunch of stops this weekend. So only shows this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tomorrow, Lark and Rose. And then, of course, Wednesdays is the civil only show. Yes, it is. Guys, civil only show Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Heading over to civil.com. When you sign up for that show, you can, upper right-hand corner, click that light green spot, put in code Larry, 50% off, $25 for the entire year. You get my special Wednesday show. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Before I go any further, guys, please click the button known as Lima India Kilo Echo. Click that button. If you have not clicked it, you hate groceries. I don't know why you hate groceries. They're delicious. They're good. And you can have whatever you want, except in these days you can't. Well, this guy, he wants you to have what he wants. Otherwise, you could. Please do that. So click that button. It does matter. I appreciate that. All right. Let me go a little bit further if I can.
Which meant that some areas were well served and others weren't. The public.
And that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that at all. He made that up. He made that up. He acts as though because government run stuff wasn't working, that they weren't served. There's no evidence of that. That's absolutely not true. Yes. Not true at all. All right. Let me grab a couple of these here if I can. All righty. You have so many of these. Peace is in the house. Peace says, does the mayor have the power to do these things? How? And as governor, what can you do to mitigate it? The mayor actually does not have as much power as people want. He will have to really work to make this happen. He will have to work with Kathy Hochul. And here's the reason why. In most cities in America, most cities, the city is within one county. In most cases, for example, LA, Chicago, they're all one county. In New York, it's 5 separate counties, which means the governor can very often step in because it's cross-county, as a president could step in because it's cross-state. So very often the governor has a lot of power. So he can't raise taxes. He'll have to get the city council to assist with that, and also the state to assist with it also. He is going to have an uphill battle. If he wants to do this, he can. I mean, it's not impossible, but he will have to really negotiate and have the people behind him. For Mamdani to get this done, he will have to have a serious mandate. If he wins by he gets 35%, and the other guy gets like 30% and 30%, something like that, that's not a mandate. He's going to struggle. He needs to win by with 60, 70% of the vote. If he can do that, he will have a mandate piece and he can get it done. He doesn't have that. He is going to struggle. That's how our system works. The New York City mayor isn't as strong as people think it is. One of the reasons why people come to New York City mayor for their careers to end. People don't go any further after this. They're done. Once you're New York City mayor, you're finished. That's the end of your career. And people are like, no, you can move on. No, you can't. You want to ask President de Blasio? No. Oh, you can't. President Giuliani? No. President Bloomberg? No. President Koch? No. Governor Koch? Governor Bloomberg? No. Once you hit New York City mayor, you're done. Because it isn't as powerful as you think. It's very prestigious. Isn't that powerful? And I know it sounds weird, but it isn't. And it's because the governor has a lot of control. The governor controls the MTA. The governor controls the bridges and tunnels. The governor controls all these things. Why do you think I run for governor? The power's in governor. It's not mayor. And most people don't know that. And in most cities, it's actually not true. In New York State, it is true. So yes. All righty. Let's see. Jane says, this is ignorance and BS. Mamdani for mayor. Lots of people agree with you, but this is not ignorance. Everything I'm telling you is true. If you think anything I'm saying is wrong, you can just check it out yourself. It's absolutely true. I'm not saying anything that's wrong. He's literally lying. And I don't even mind this, Jane. I don't mind someone supporting Mamdani. I had Mamdani on the show. If you want to watch, Google Larry Sharpe and Mamdani, you'll see. I had a good conversation with the guy. I personally like him. I've seen him more than once. I like him. He's a good guy. If you meet him, I don't know if you met him, Jane. If you have, he's a nice guy. I like him. And I think he actually cares. I do. I think he cares. But this guy is just he's just running cover for him. And again, if you want to run cover on your show, like you like Mamdani or you think leftism works well, I get that too. This is breaking points. Elliot says, lol, true. It's been Crystal and Friends about 2023. No, it's been Crystal and Friends since Sagar had a kid. That's it. Since Sagar had a kid. Since he had a kid and he left, this has become Crystal and Friends. This is no longer Breaking Points. And this is proof of it. So, yeah, that's the issue. So yeah. All right. Jane says it's pure ignorance to think Venezuela or Cuba. Why not? Why is it ignorance? I'm not sure that's true. Jane says not failing Denmark and Scandinavia. Okay, Denmark's a part of Scandinavia, so I think do you mean Norway? Scandinavia. Okay, Denmark has 5 million people. There are less people in Denmark than New York City. New York City has more people than Denmark does, and it's basically one city. It's basically Copenhagen. That's basically what Denmark is. It's also already the social issues are different, and the poor and middle class pay more than the wealthy in Denmark. I'm not making that up because their thought process in Scandinavia is very different. The thought process in Scandinavia is if you're wealthy, you have your own resources. So you don't use public resources as much. That's their mindset. So you should pay percentage, you shouldn't pay such a big percentage because you're not using the resources. But if you are middle class or poor, you will use more. So you pay more. Now, the good thing about how they work it there is, generally speaking, most Scandinavians, not all, but most Scandinavians aren't that unhappy with their high tax rate. Why? Because they actually get what they ask for. And most Americans would feel the same way. If our tax dollars didn't go off to bombing kids and shit, if it didn't go do that, most Americans would be like, well, okay, our taxes are giving me what I want. But we pay taxes and still have crappy cities. We pay taxes and still have broken roads. We pay taxes and we give money to other countries. Denmark doesn't do that. There's no way. Norway also has a massive sovereign fund. Massive sovereign fund. Denmark also makes tons of money selling us drugs. They sell us Ozempic and they don't buy it themselves in their own country. So they make money from socialism is amazing when it's not your money. Awesome. And I mean awesome. Socialism is awesome when you add capitalism. So the Danes have found a way of adding capitalism through selling to other countries. The Norwegians have figured out how to add capitalism by having $1 trillion sovereign fund. Again, you know how many Norwegians there are? 5 million. Yeah, there's more people in the New York City metro area than both Denmark and Norway combined. So I know there are countries. Norway is basically, I mean, it's a country surrounded by an oil field. I'm sorry, it's an oil field surrounded by a country. Yeah. But anyway, I get what you're saying. Yes. I'm telling you what happens here. So yes. All righty. Let me walk down here if I can. There's so many of these. I appreciate all the comments. I really do. Excuse me. Phil says they run a profit, which means their costs are less than what they bring in. All the extra money goes to funding job training. How they couldn't. This is something I can start with something else here. All right, I gotta keep going down here. Elliot says fighting crime would help solve food deserts. Yes, you could buy food from many shippers like Amazon to various locations, if not for port theft. Also true. Yes, crime is a big piece of it. Not the only piece. There are other pieces which are zoning and taxation, which he is for zoning and taxation, which is what makes things worse. Right? That's the issue. That is the issue. All right. Josh says more government on the solution to the problems in New York. True. Absolutely true. Let me keep going here.
Market system was beginning to unravel. Now, the USDA knew this.
Now he says the market system was beginning to unravel. That's what he says. This is 1850s, he says. That's what he says. And the FDA knew this.
They also felt like the whole food system really needed to be reformed. So the
FDA, what does the FDA do well with food? The food pyramid? The food pyramid? Hold on. Let me make sure I got this. All right. Let's see. Yes, the FDA. Yes, there we go. The FDA really came into play in 1930. That's when it really came into play. Really came into play in 1930. That's when it really came into play. It was around 1930. He's talking 1850, and he goes, the FDA cared about this. 80 years later. See, his timelines go everywhere. That's what I'm saying. This guy's full of it. His timeline just goes everywhere. So, all right.
They did a study, and one thing it found was that food distribution became a lot more difficult when the population of a certain place exceeded 100,000.
Okay.
If you go back to New York, the city had 100,000 people in 1820. And
Yep.
by the 1840s, the system had fundamentally changed.
Yep.
The reason was not that governments were suddenly incapable of delivering food to people.
Okay. First off, government never delivered food to people. This is a lie. I showed you that. That's not what happened. The government was not delivering food to people. He's lying. That's not true. And he goes, it wasn't they couldn't deliver food to people anymore. No, what was happening is the system they created didn't work because of zoning. If you just let people sell food to each other, they will sell food to each other.
Public markets in towns under 100,000 people seemed to work just fine. But when a city crossed that 100,000 mark, that's generally when the closest farms couldn't keep up anymore. It became impractical for farmers to sell directly to consumers.
So it became impractical for farmers to sell directly to consumers. Okay, that makes sense. How do you fix that?
And there were middlemen, which drove up costs. And it's at that point that it became easier to succumb to the pressures of businesses and trade.
So it became easier to succumb to pressures of business. What he doesn't understand is that's what moves people. The business doesn't move randomly. Business moves because people want to buy stuff. That's how business moves. So what he means is the pressures of the people wanting to buy stuff. He honestly thinks you should just do what the central planners in government tell you to do. That's Soviet era bullshit. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about socialism as in people owning the means of production. That's not what he's talking about. He's literally talking about centralized control like the Soviet Union. So, Jane, when you go to talk about Venezuela and Cuba is dumb, he's saying it. I'm not saying it. He is. He's not saying we want people, co-ops to be owned. That's modern day socialism is often about things like people owning the means of production. I understand that. I'm not even against it. It's fine. As you see fit. Co-ops are wonderful. Worker-owned businesses. Enjoy. I'm mad about that. He's not saying that. He is saying centralized planning. He is saying Soviet era shit. That's what he's saying.
Groups than it was to just build out the public system. So this was the first big shift from public food distribution to private, which was around.
It was never public food distribution. That's a lie. I showed you. He said it. It was simply zoning. That's not public food distribution. That's just zoning.
Around the mid to late 1800s. But before we get into the next big shift, let's talk about how it worked in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Communists developed the third phase of their blueprint for world domination.
There we go. World domination. That's what they're doing. I'm looking over, if I could, over at Rumble. P says, the food pyramid. They screw us on that one. Yes. Yes. That's the problem. They completely screwed this up. I don't trust the government to tell me what to eat. Why should you? Why would you want to? Don't trust the government to tell you what to eat. You decide. And if you're wrong, then you're wrong. That's fine. But don't you dare let the government tell you what to eat. That is insanely stupid. Don't do that. You do as you see fit. So yes. All righty. I want to grab some. I have so many comments. I want to grab some of these comments if I can. Dave says, comply. You will comply. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Andrea, you will eat the bugs. You will eat the bugs. Just saying, you will eat the bugs. Yes. Michael says, has this guy ever worked a real job? Doubt it. Doubt it. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, Michael says, Larry's serving up Monday Night Cringe. Yeah. True. True. All right. Ryan says, for Mamdani's government grocery store idea, just look at how it worked in Kansas City. The city of Casey invested $17.4 million and it went belly up. Yes, my point is there's no reason for it. He's going to explain why. There's no reason at all. Yes. Andrea says, so the government can't supply to the public because they can't project things? All they have to do is protect it. All they do is just like provide police. Probably about it. That's all they need to do. So yes, that's probably it. Yes. All right. All right. I just so many of these all over. I appreciate all these guys. I really appreciate all the back and forth. It's so good. All right. The scientific libertarian says, I demand the government butt wipers. I'm sick of having to do it myself. I agree, but they should regulate it. Okay. So let's make sure you know what time of day you can wipe, how many wipes you get, what type of paper they're going to use. All right. Because you don't know any better. So they will tell you when and how to wipe with what paper, and don't you dare wipe unless your designated wiper shows up. Okay? Getting a little ahead of yourself there. Just saying. All right. John says, but that wasn't real socialism. It'll be different this time. Yes. Absolutely. Patty says, my local deli listened to me and got in my favorite coconut water, pickles and pretzels. I found that the college kids love them too. The owner asked me for more ideas. Yes, it's crazy how local grocery stores would like you to buy their product. Whatever you want, they tend to do. Why? Because that's how they make their money. They want to sell you stuff. That's kind of how they survive and pay their bills. They would love that. Yes. Pete says, under capitalism, food waits for people. Under socialism, people wait line for food. True. Yes. True. Absolutely. All righty. Let's see if I can go here. I think that was good. Patty says, so like a flea market is how it was set up. Yes. Does a flea market mean that the government decides how you get things done? No. No. It's not how it works at all. Yes. It is. Yeah. Anyway, I'll just keep moving on, I guess. So just, yeah. All right. Daniel says, what, socialist lying? Nah, no way. Exactly. Yeah. People have been fleeing from these countries forever, right? Fleeing forever. And people keep thinking about that. Kim says community co-ops. Fine with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Why not? That's the private market. It's just a group of people owning something. Sure. No problem with that. Why not? And they do have some. Brooklyn has a bunch of co-ops. And those co-ops that last time I saw, those co-ops are actually working. Like people are going there, they're buying, all those things. I have no problem with that at all. But that's not a government-run store. That's a locally owned store by a community. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. Under this guy's idea, you couldn't do that. See, this guy doesn't want that. This guy wants centralized control. He thinks that's the answer. That's what he thinks is the answer. And it isn't. I would take your answer any day of the week. Pete coming in. 37 trillion, 137 billion, 282 million, 641,000, $767.74. Yes. And it went up even after that. So Dave says to Jane, I'm sure grocery stores in Denmark are probably on. They are. Denmark is nowhere near people call Denmark a socialist country. It isn't. What it actually is it is a country that has a lot of socialized medicine, socialized care of the population, and they pay heavily in taxes for it. And most of the people are pretty good. So yes. All right. Jane's mad. Shows how ignorant your viewers are. Who voted failed everywhere. I'm not sure what Jane's talking about. Jane is mad. I think she's leaving. She says, bye, Mamdani for the win. I hope you come back, Jane. I'm happy to have you back. Hope you keep listening. I want you to come back. Please do so. Mamdani's not a bad guy and he might win, but this is a bad idea and it's going to fail. And the guy who's talking now is terrible. He is just a shill for centralized control. That's all he is. He's a shill for centralized control. So yeah, there we go. All righty. Oh, interesting. We have people here talking a lot about Palestine and the Z word, which I can't. Spiritual, I'm going to bring it up, but if I put it on YouTube, I'll get demonetized and canceled. So I will say what you're saying in baby talk so I don't get trashed on YouTube, but I'm letting you know I'm going to say what you want me to say. I'm going to get it out there, but I have to do it in this way. He's saying free that those people who are in the Middle East right now, who are being bombed, from the type of people who would like that special nation to stay there forever. Do we get what I'm talking about here? All right. Why does that matter? Because a lot of people, I think Spiritual is one of them, he is supporting Mamdani because of that issue. I understand that. I get why you would do that. I understand that. Here's the problem, though. Mamdani will have no power over that at all. None. He will have none. He won't be able to stop it, start it. All he can do is, I guess, talk about it, which is nice, which he can do now as an assemblyman. So whether he's mayor or not, he can still push your issue if you want him to or not. Not just that. Whether or not he pushes that issue or not has nothing to do, zero to do, with government-run stores. They are utterly and totally separate. You can jump on that issue and be happy about that and still think this store idea is a bad idea. And this store idea is a bad idea. So I want you to know I did bring it up. People who will look at you can look at the comments, guys, if you want to see what he said. I just can't put it on YouTube. Spiritual, if you want to go over to Rumble, you can put it on Rumble. You can put it on Rumble all you want. But YouTube will get mad if I say anything about that special country in the Middle East. I get in trouble. So anyway, I heard you. I saw you. I don't think you're ignored. You're not ignored. I just don't want to get canceled. So yes. All right. Anyway, looking over at Rumble, Phil says, for $1, thank you. There's a nonprofit grocery store in Utica and Troy. You should stop by there and check it out while you're up here. They operate on less money than they bring in. All money, excess money goes to education. Yeah, I stopped by the one in Utica that it had to leave because of the hospital. Yeah, I did a video there, and then they had to get booted because they made a hospital and got rid of it. Yeah, government came in and decided a hospital was more important downtown than a local food store that was servicing the community, nonprofit for people who had trouble getting money for food. Yes, because government always works well. Doesn't it always? So yes. All right. She's going to tell us about stores and famine and stuff. Here she is.
There were two forms of food distribution in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
One was public and the other was private. The public form was that the state managed the food supply, food production.
The farms are planned.
See, the farms were planned, the food supplied that. Okay, great. So what happened when that was being oh, right, famine. Lots of them. Lots of them. Tons and tons of famine. Famine in the 20s, famine in the 30s, and famine in the 50s. So every decade except World War II. Why? Well, because 10% of the population was killed. And so, yeah, kind of easier when that happened. The Germans were paying for it, and the Germans had so many prisoners, they were feeding them. So, yeah, no problem when that happens. But with the exception of World War II, there was famine every decade. Literal famine when millions died. And they're like, you know what we should do? Centralized control.
Where the farms sell their goods to wholesalers, that's planned.
Food was highly subsidized. It was there.
So it was subsidized on top of it. To be clear, they're telling you this. And these people think that this plan's a good plan. I'm not joking. But they're going to sit there and tell you, okay, they controlled it and it was subsidized. And still 20s, 30s, 50s, famine.
Very, very cheap. The second form of food distribution was peasant markets that were set up within cities.
They had small private plots that the individual members of a collective farm could cultivate, and they could sell their surplus at farmers markets, which was a big source of income for those farmers.
So the non-government ones were a source of income for local farmers. Isn't that weird? So when the government ran stuff, famine every decade, the only way they made money was in the private market. You know what we got to get rid of? Private market. I couldn't make this up, could I? I can't make this up. It's like they tell on themselves, but just say capitalism evil, so it's fine.
And actually, it was also a significant part of the urban food supply.
You might be able to find rabbit or chicken or a variety
in the private
of,
markets,
say, fruits and vegetables.
So you got to eat like what you wanted to eat. Maybe you liked rabbit. Maybe you liked fruits and vegetables, whatever. You got to eat what you wanted because the farmers who'd make their money would grow and or kill what you wanted. That evil capitalism. Capitalism sucks. It gives you what you want. Isn't that crazy? Capitalism gives you what you want without famine. Centralized planning gives you what they say with famine. This seems like a bad idea. And they're like, you know what we need? More of that. Phil goes on to say, I have friends from the Ukraine that grew up in the Soviet Union. They say the day they worked the hardest was Labor Day, when they had a day off from work and they would start their own gardens. Yes. Yes. Thank you for that $1, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes. There is no way. And this is the problem that most people don't get. I think Jane feels the same way. That's why she's like, I hope you're still here, Jane. But I think Jane left. She's pissed off. Two issues here. Issue number one. You have people who in modern day American socialism say we want workers to own the means of production. I get it. I absolutely get it. I'm not mad at that. That's what Kim's talking about. Community people owning. So this woman's talking about what was working was local people owning. I don't have a problem with local ownership. I think it's amazing. Let's do that. But the closest they can get is Mamdani. Mamdani's not saying that. Mamdani is not saying socialism as in individuals owning the rights to their labor. He's not saying that. He's saying centralized control and government planning, which is Soviet era, communist China era shit. It's literally Venezuela and Cuba. What Jane was saying, we shouldn't think that. He's saying that. They're agreeing with that, as it doesn't work. And you're like, Larry, you're crazy. No. One more time. This show is Breaking Points, aka Crystal and Friends. This is now Crystal and Friends. This is what it's become. You've heard me complain about Breaking Points for what? 6 months, give or take, how bad it's getting. And it culminates in this garbage. It culminates in this garbage. Terrible. So, Peace, thank you for the $1 on Rumble says, who do you want to win the mayoral race in New York City out of the people running? Jim Walden. That's who I want to win. Jim Walden's running independent. I would like him to win. I had him on my show. I don't think he's going to win. I hope he will. I hope he will. I'll probably vote for him. He's the closest thing we got to a decent guy. I mean, he's a decent guy. Shit, that's horrible. He's the closest thing we got to someone who actually can make some impact. So if he wins, oh my God, he'd make big impact. I hope he does. But I'm just being realistic. It's tough. It's uphill race for him. He's independent. Uphill race. So yes. All righty. Let's see here. Daniel says, I'm reminded of Senator Bernie Sanders complaining that there were too many varieties of deodorant on the free market in USA. He said there should be brand X ration from government as in the USSR. I know, yeah. Here's what happens if there are too many. Now, it's possible, Daniel, that he's correct. There may be too many varieties of deodorant in the free market in USA. It's possible. What will happen? They'll go out of business. And there will soon not be too many. Over time, there's exactly the right amount of varieties of deodorant. Over time, exactly the right amount. Because people stop buying things they don't want. That's how that works. Government doesn't do anything. Yes.
That you might not be able to find, especially in the winter, in a local Soviet grocery store.
See, you can't find. She literally said you can't find the food in the local Soviet grocery store. She's saying it. You can't find it. See, Mike, you said that everything you said, Mike, when you were in Moscow in the 90s, she's saying, yeah.
But the food there was not subsidized and it was expensive.
See, but it was expensive. So get cheap food that you don't want, you don't like, and when it runs out, you starve, literally. Not I'm hungry starving, you starve to death. So option one is cheap food, subsidized by the government, what the government tells you, so not what you want, and when it runs out, you starve to death. Option one. She's like, that's a great job. Other option, more expensive food, but it's what you want, and you don't starve. I'm going to go with the more expensive, what I want, don't starve. I like that one. I want to go with that one, please. I would like what I want, don't starve to death, expensive. I'll go with that because then to Bill's point, I'll just work harder on Labor Day to make some extra cash so I can pay for the food and not die. Or for what she wants, take cheap food, not what you want, can't find what you want, and then when it runs out, you die. I like the expensive thing better. I'm going to go with that one.
So back to America, going into the 1900s.
So now he just goes going to the 1900s.
Supermarket chains just kept getting bigger and bigger. But even with the takeover of mega chains, food desert.
The takeover of mega chains. He said 1900s. What he said. He just moves all around just to say, see, capitalism bad. There weren't mega chains 1900s. That wasn't a thing.
Deserts didn't really start happening until the 80s. So a food
80s.
desert, just to be clear, is when a grocery store is.
So remember, he said this thing that was terrible happened in 1850. Now he's in the 1980s. So what is he saying? The private market worked for 130 years. That's what he just said. He won't tell you that. So he just goes, well, and now 1980s, it all sucks now. That's what he just said. but he just said it happened with 1840. Is what 1830, 1840. So for 140, sorry. So for 140 years, it was working. Then all of a sudden, evil capitalism or something.
10 miles away if you're in a rural area, or a mile away if you're in a city. And how Stacy Mitchell of the Institute of Local Self-Reliance breaks it down is this. From the 50s to the early 80s, 25% of grocery sales went to the 8 biggest chains. But
so at that point, 25% went to 8 chains. Okay, that's not bad. That's not the end of the world. That's not bad. Not bad.
Independent stores still did well. This is thanks to the Robinson-Patman Act of
1936. The government saved it. Yeah. That's why the government saved it, because they were having problems in 1936. See, if it wasn't for the government, they all would have went under. See, that's what. See, so okay, he said everything changed, and his words, everything changed in 1840s. Remember that? That's when the government gave up and let the evil market take over. So for 90 years, it was going fine, right? But we had to make a change in 1936. What was happening in the 30s? What was happening in the 30s that made... Oh, right, the Depression and the stupid tariffs that we put in. Remember that? Smoot-Hawley? That's what happened during this time. Remember that? Yeah. That's what crushed them. Not evil capitalism, government. The Depression and the tariffs that crushed our farmers. Do you remember that? That's what happened. He doesn't mention that this is during the Depression and during the tariffs. He doesn't mention that insanely important thing. It's just because capitalism.
36, which outlawed discriminatory pricing. Basically, even though supermarket chains were relatively new, they were already...
Wait a minute, you said mega chains. Now they're relatively new. Whichever that is, I don't know. Whatever makes you hate capitalism is what it is. Okay, what makes you angry at capitalism? It's that. Just whatever that is. Yes. So again, for 90 years, to be clear, for 1840, so almost 100 years. For almost 100 years, these grocery stores were not doing things that were bad. They were like just whatever. It was fine. Didn't require any laws. It was all good. Then all of a sudden, randomly, in 1936, for no reason, we required this anti-discrimination law. What was happening at that time? Oh, yes. Tariffs, depression.
Huge players in the market. Big enough that food distributors felt the need to give them discount prices.
Felt the need to give them. It's called the market.
Along comes the Robinson-Patman Act, which said, no, the cost of a truckload of food is the cost of a truckload of food.
Because what could go wrong with price fixing? What the stuff he said this. He said in the 1840s, remember this, I kept bringing this up because I wanted to come back to this. When I first saw this, I was so triggered. It all just smashed in my head. He said, and then in the 1840s, that's when they got it. All went downhill from there. He said that. That's when capitalism began to wreck everything. He said that. But then it takes 90 years for it to be bad. Why didn't the government do something back in 1840 when it was so bad? Government walked away because it was going fine. He said capitalism gave the words they gave it to capitalism. That's what wrecked it, capitalism. Well, what changed? Things started getting worse around this time. Why? Because the government came in and made these rules. Price fixing, tariffs. Yeah. Depression. Yes.
No matter what, no matter how big the buyer is. And this evened the playing field. But in the 80s, under Reagan.
Okay, this evened the playing field. He goes, but in the 80s, Reagan just destroyed everything because Reagan, evil, bad guy. Look at that picture.
The government stopped enforcing it. Grocery stores were again beginning to strong-arm suppliers. Chains started centralizing their buying to maximize their ability to leverage their size against suppliers.
But I thought the whole goal was, didn't he just say that he wanted cheap food? Isn't that the whole goal?
In 2001, Walmart became the biggest grocery chain in the...
Okay, hold on. When did he... Okay, I thought it was... What happened now? It was Reagan, and then what happened? Hold on.
Chains started centralizing their buying to maximize their ability to leverage their size against suppliers. And in 2001, Walmart...
So 2001 now. Okay. Didn't he say 1840 is when it all went downhill? So 161 years later, and that's when these guys were playing a real long game. Ryan, they were playing a real long game. They're like, well, here it is in 1840. Here's our plan. We're going to take over the market in 160 years. They'll never see it coming. Is that what happened? He's just like saying stuff and then puts up a picture of Reagan because Reagan's evil. So yeah, that'll end it. Wow. Daniel says, socialism's great when it's not your money. It is. It's Daniel, you paying? Everybody gets health care. Take it. Daniel's paying. Absolutely. Yes. So I think it's Yamps says socialism don't failed. I'm assuming English is not your primary language. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. It actually does fail literally every time. Okay. With the exception of every time it never fails. True. Otherwise, it fails every time. So, yeah. Rick says Jane has 3 names. That's all you need to know. Very good. Very good. Oh, I love this. Yam says, Cuba is only poor because USA put sanctions. I love this. This is the stuff I get all the time. Yams, thank you so much for this one. I love this. This goes right back to it. This is what I said. So, socialism only works when you add capitalism. Yes, true. And then you just said socialism doesn't fail. It failed in Cuba. Cuba's about to go under financially, in case you guys don't know, because the Soviet Union and Russia can't give the money anymore. So, yeah, they're about to go under. So, yeah, only because of sanctions. Wait a minute. Why do you need capitalism? Because you do. That's the problem, brother. Socialism works well when you add capitalism. Yeah, because capitalism is the only real answer. It always has been. It always happens because when socialism is put into place, what grows? The black market. Look at China. Look at Russia. When they were more, they're more capitalism now, but when they were more communism. Look at Vietnam today. Black market everywhere. Because no matter what you say, no matter how you act, capitalism is the natural form of humanity. It always goes there. It goes to the black market. How do I know that? Because to enforce capitalism, you don't have to enforce it. To enforce socialism, you got to have prisons. Got to. And not for people who do bad things. Not for that. For the black market. That's the reason. So yes. Kim says FDA makes food toxic. That's all they're good at. But they are good at that, Kim. But they are good at it. So yes. Andrea says, just regulate harder and all problems disappear. See, you get it, Andrea. If we only had like 4 more regulations, utopia. But guys like Phil getting away. Phil's always complaining about regulations. He's messing up for all of us. See, if Phil would stop messing up for us, then we get our next 4 regulations, utopia. That would happen. See, you get it. Absolutely true. Yes. All righty. Yam says BRICS save Cuba now. Not yet, my friend. They might, but they haven't yet. Cuba is in trouble right now. So I'm not sure that's true. It could happen. Maybe. So we'll see. Kim says government commodities, they gave this food. No, they did not. He made that up. As I said, he made that up. It did not happen. He made that up. So yeah. All righty.
Walmart became the biggest grocery chain in the whole country. Just to give you an idea of how much power
and that's by default, again, evil. By default. Right? By default, evil.
These chains have over suppliers. For years, Walmart had been complaining that they were losing sales because their suppliers weren't filling orders fast enough. So they instituted this policy to basically pressure suppliers. Complaining that they were losing. Walmart became the biggest grocery chain in the whole country.
Listen to this.
Just to give you an idea of how much power these chains have over suppliers. For years, Walmart had been complaining that they were losing sales because their suppliers weren't filling orders fast.
So they had been complaining that their suppliers hadn't been completing orders fast enough. Why is that a bad thing? Look at them. How dare you expect businesses to do their jobs effectively? Could he be any more of a government shill? I don't think he could. I don't think this guy could be any more of a government shill. He literally says that. trying to get like businesses to do their jobs faster. You have customers who are buying your food. He's saying that Walmart was the biggest grocery store chain in the country, which means you're feeding Americans. Wouldn't you want to get the food to them faster so you could feed the Americans? How dare Walmart do that? And for years, they were telling them to do it. I guess they were trying to. Maybe it was hard. Okay. Maybe that's how efficient Walmart was.
Fast enough. So they instituted this policy to basically pressure suppliers to work harder.
He thinks that's a bad thing. He's like, to work harder. Don't work hard. What's wrong with you? Don't work hard. This guy is he literally would love to be a government worker if he isn't already. Love it. Just like that's a bad thing. Okay, if I have a store and I want to sell you the cheapest product that I can possibly sell you that you want, right? Obviously you want it, and I want the lowest price I can. I'm gonna tell my people to do their job as best as I possibly can. Of course, that's what it's about. Why wouldn't I do that? Him, he doesn't get it.
In 2020, during the pandemic, Walmart told.
Okay, so he goes. They were trying to pressure him. So he goes in 2020 during the pandemic. What happened during the pandemic again? Hold on. Every time he says bad things, what was happening? Oh, right, government shutdowns. It's weird how he never mentions how the government is literally smashing everything. Literally the government's fault. He will not mention that the government locked down and destroyed, again, literally thousands of small businesses and family businesses with this. Instead, he'll just blame Walmart. The situation was set up by the government. Government did this, these lockdowns to wreck our economy. Yeah, to the point where for certain areas, Walmart was the only place to get food. Remember that? I remember that. Yeah. And he's mad at Walmart. What did Walmart do that's so evil now?
Suppliers that shipments must be 98% complete effective September 15th. Suppliers not meeting the new guidance will be fined 3% of the cost of goods.
Okay, this is a private organization making a deal with other private organizations. Why is that a bad thing? Now, if government said this, you'd be right. I get it. Government shouldn't be deciding this, but this is, you can tell Walmart go to hell, and some people do. John Deere did. You don't have to go to Walmart. Except, oh, wait, you do. Why? Because the government forced you to. Huh. Weird. The government basically forced Walmart to be the place for most people so that Walmart could do whatever it wanted because the government was backing it. And what he would like is more government control. I wish I was making this up. You can't make this shit up. And there are people right now who, if you look at the comments on this video, oh my God, it will make you want to just lose all possible hope in humanity. Looking at, if you go to this video, I'll put a link there if you want to go to the video and watch it. If you want to vomit again, you can just go there and vomit all over again. Or you can look at the comments and vomit in the comments. Yeah, great. Literally, the government made this happen. Why did it back? I'm breathing, Mike. Don't be mad at me. I'm breathing. See, I am breathing. I'm breathing. He earlier said, remember in Boston, this group is was asking for the government to not have laissez-faire. Why? For the same reason Walmart was happy there were lockdowns. Never can oligarchs and monopolies grow without government backing and support. And here it is again. And what does this guy want? More of that.
That would be like going into a restaurant saying, look, I know the place is slammed and half the cooks called out sick, but if my entire table doesn't get our food in the next 5 minutes, I'm not paying full price.
Then you can leave the restaurant, can't you? Yes. And what if your server is slow? What if the restaurant is slow and you don't want to stay at that restaurant because they're slow? You can leave if you want to. You can. It's up to you. He's like, no, you should just stay there and not make them work hard and just let them stay there. Are you high? What's wrong with you? If you don't like your restaurant, leave, as you should. This guy's, he's a moron.
And now imagine how that might affect the other tables at the restaurant.
They might demand better service too. Imagine that they'd have to make the restaurant do its job better.
So over the following decades, big chains would merge into bigger chains with more buying power. And from 1982 to 2017, the market share of independent retailers shrank from
So from 1982 to 2017, the market. Okay, that is a bad thing. I agree. That's true. That's terrible.
53% to 22%. Which
Okay,
brings us
that's
to a
something
pretty common argument from the crowd that is generally against Zohran's idea and city-owned
These crazy people like me who are against this. Psh.
grocery stores. Profit margins are just so thin, which is
True. That is absolutely true. Profit margin is absolutely thin. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yes.
It's true. Grocery store margins can be between 1% and 3%. But hearing
True.
this argument, you
Yep.
might think that these companies aren't incredibly profitable.
Nobody thinks that. He made that up. Another straw man bullshit. No one thinks Walmart's not profitable. No one thinks that. No one thinks Kroger's not profitable. No one thinks that. Nobody thinks that. He made that up. Everybody who has any idea on how business works, if you have any clue, some people don't, but if you have a clue how business works, you know you can have small profit margins. You make it up on volume. So if Walmart is I don't know how many billion to cut, whatever, sake of argument, there are, I don't know, how many billions they are? 20 billion, 40 billion, whatever they are. $20 billion company. Well, if you make only 1% profit, that's a lot of money. Everyone knows that. He's treating you like you're an idiot.
And that would be false. Because while independent stores struggle, the big chains are raking it in.
That's not just for grocery stores. That's for every single group in the world. Every group in the world, not just grocery stores. Chains make lots of money, right? McDonald's, which is basically a chain of fast food joints, makes a whole lot more money than an individual guy who owns a diner. Yes, of course. That's how it works. No one's surprised about that. No one goes, Joey's Diner, does he make as much as McDonald's Corporation? No one goes, no, he doesn't. I can't believe it. No one thinks that. This is stupid. Phil says, thank you for the $1. The consolidation seems to happen as large firms had more access to funds from the Federal Reserve. Small businesses are more nimble than large businesses. Each has pros and cons. No, that's not what happened. The consolidation actually happened because of regulation. The regulations become so strict that the individuals can no longer survive anymore, right? And I say this, I did a video on this back in 2018. I call it my hoodie video. For those of you who remember that video, I was in my area in a story talking about this. When the regulations that these guys ask for become so strict and so difficult, only a large organization that literally can lobby and also has lawyers to fight these regulations and then write the regulations can make it work. You're a small guy. You have no chance of knowing it, so you get your ass kicked. That's how it actually works. So yeah, it's because of more regulation, corporate capture. That's what's been happening in every industry. It isn't just grocery stores. It's every retail industry.
Kroger CEO, who in 2022 made a modest...
And my example is, please find local shoe stores. Find those, right? Find local, grocery stores, tough. Find local shoe stores, tough. Find local restaurants, tough.
671 times their median employee, cleared $15 million in 2023. Their stock also...
Okay, see? Made more money than this employee. Cleared $15 million. But then he shows, this is the part, again, he's being disingenuous, this entire thing is disingenuous, is stocks. Yeah, the stock goes up. Of course it does. And where did it go up heavy? 2025, 2020, after everything got trashed by the lockdowns. The lockdowns wrecked all the competition, right? Look at where it starts going up here. Hold on, can you? Right on here, it's going up. What happened here? Oh, lockdowns. When you crushed all the competition, everything started going up. This CEO doesn't get $15 million in a salary. That's not how it works. Again, this guy either doesn't know, doesn't care, or is purposely lying to you. He doesn't get a salary of $15 million. He gets a total compensation, huge, because a chunk of his compensation is stocks, which are doubling and tripling. That's how he's making so much money. Why is the stock market going up so much? Because lockdowns. Look at it. It's right there. His own chart gives it away if you know how to read the damn chart. Most people don't know how to read the damn chart. Let's go, see, Kroger, evil, gets $15 million in salary. No, he doesn't. He got a bunch of it in stock, which went up because of lockdowns.
Doubled in the last 5 years. Their revenue is close to $150 billion.
Oh my God, it doubled in the last 5 years. What was happening 5 years. Oh, wait, lockdowns. It's funny how he mentions 5 years ago, but doesn't mention the thing that was happening 5 years ago. What a coincidence that is. Huh. Wow. Weird how he always forgets to mention the batch that the government does.
With a profit of about $2 billion after taxes. So yeah, that's a pretty thin margin comparatively, but it's still like $2 billion.
Which by default makes him evil. That's why he brings the money up. Because remember, guys like him, if you make money, you are evil by default. That's how it works. You are evil by default. That's how it works. So yeah.
The problem comes when you're working on a much smaller scale and when your 2% net profit isn't $2 billion, but like $100,000 or less. And
yeah, but when you're a family-owned business, if you can make a couple $100,000 or $100,000, depending on where you are, New York City, you can make a couple $100,000. Other areas of the country, you can make $100,000 and you can live a life. Depends on where you are in the country.
If your town has a population of 1,000 people in it, that's a pretty small store with a pretty small margin. But first, quick detour back to the Soviet Union.
Oh, but first, now that I've said nothing but distraction, let's go back to the Soviet Union because I want you to believe that that was all okay. So, all right, let me keep going here now.
In the Soviet Union, why were there bread lines?
During the war, there were bread lines, and there was rationing of food. Probably had they not rationed.
He says, during the war, there were bread lines. That's what she says. During the war, there were bread lines. The massive, and if you can do your homework if you want to, the mass amount of famines were before and after the war. That's what it was. Before and after the war. If you want to check, hold on. I see I can find this here. Let me see if I can find this to show you that I'm not making this up. Right? Hold on. See if I can find this here. Hold on. All right. I was kind of interested in this idea, the worst famines. And here is a list from Google of the worst famines. And here they are. 1890, 1921, 1922, the worst. 1930, 1933, the worst. 1946, 1947. Yeah, not the war. So the war wasn't the reason. It was crappy Soviet planning. That's what it was. That's what it was. So she can say what she wants to say. She's full of shit because they're avoiding it, as always. She says there was some bread lines during the war. Well, yeah, but what about outside the war? She doesn't mention that. She decides to not mention that at all. Isn't that kind of weird? We don't want to mention those things? Yeah, that's kind of funny. There is something I do want to mention, though, if I could. And this has to do with government control, right? The idea of government control. There's a place where you can watch a show on that. You know where that is? Yes, it is Civil. That's where you can find it if you want to, guys. Head on over to Civil when you have a chance, if you can. And this is one spot I found. I always find something interesting on Civil for you guys to watch. If you want to head on over there and check it out. This one is from this one is the Dad Save America piece, and he's talking about Kamala Harris promising price controls.
I will take out a pen and write things on a piece of paper, and magic will happen, and there will be more of the thing. Hey there, friends, fans, and foes of Dad Saves America. John Popola here. And this Friday, I can't help but dive in to this question of price controls. I know
you can talk about price controls with a regular guy like him. That's what you get on Civil. It doesn't work. It can't work. And we still think it works. It's not going to work. You can check it out. This is a nice piece. You can chat about it, talk to him about it, have a good piece on it, respond to it, do it here on Civil. Heading over to Civil, CIVL.com. If you can, sign up. Code is Larry, Larry, 50% off, $25 for the entire year. You get shows like this, good conversation. Again, we're not doing the conflict machine. We're having good talks back and forth about what people care about, what they don't care about. And you get my special Wednesday, 7 p.m. show, which, of course, is the coolest 7 p.m. show on Wednesday there is. So, yes, you get that show, which is only on Civil. Those is We Fix It Wednesday. Check it out, CIVL.com. We are upgrading civilization. That is what Civil's doing. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoy that. Please pop on over if you can. They are a sponsor, and I'm part of it. So, yes. All righty. Yams, you're making people unhappy. Shelly says you just spam and don't answer questions. Yeah, you're being trolly. Please don't be trolly. I don't mind you saying something that I disagree with. That's fine, but stop being trolly. It's not cool. So yes. All righty. Let me keep moving if I can. All righty. Still have that bit of the cough. So all righty. Josh says Yen has no evidence for socialism because it hasn't. So that's true. Yes. All righty. I grab some more of these. The scientific libertarian says we're on keto. We can't eat exactly what we want, Larry. Well, kind of we can. Depends. I mean, not if Mamdani has all our stores, we won't be able to. So, yeah, that we can. All righty. Michael says, I haven't watched Breaking Points in a long time because of Crystal TDS. Yes, you're right. I like Emily Jelinski still and watch her on Undercurrents. Yeah, it's become Crystal and Friends. Right? That's the issue. It's become Crystal and Friends. You're totally correct. So I'm looking over on Rumble. Phil, thank you for $1. He says, Yakov Smirnov said a man was waiting in a bread line and decided he wanted to punch Gorbachev in the face. He came back 2 hours later and the people asked him, what happened? He said, that line was longer. I like that. That's a good one. That line probably was pretty long. I would bet it was. So, but yeah. All righty. Let's see if I can go down here. All right. So many comments here. Oh, wow. You guys are really popping back and forth. Okay. Patty says, what happens to people who can't afford the more expensive food? Well, if it is local, right? In the case of America, what would happen is you would get what foods you could afford. In the case of local, though, hopefully local people would help you out. That would be the goal. If you have community-owned stores, the community would help you. We don't have much of that at all, Patty. We do have, again, a couple of them in Brooklyn. You can go to Brooklyn and sign to pay later in some of those stores. If you're a member of the co-op, right? You can say, I can't pay now, and you sign to pay later, or you can actually put labor in some of those co-ops if you can't afford it. So if Pat, if you're like, look, I'm broke, but I want this good food. If you're part of the co-op, they go, okay, great. But now you got to work on Saturday. And so you work on Saturday or whatever, right? That they work it out because you're part of the co-op. That's how they do it. Now, there doesn't need to be a law for that. It's a co-op. You can do whatever you like. You can create a food pantry. And many co-ops have a separate food pantry. Not all do, but some do. Where if you're in trouble, you just take that food. Up to you. So you would create that issue. Assuming, Patty, that you'd be part of a co-op, because of what you've seen in your life, you would create some answer for that. Whether that would be you could work it off, whether that would be you'd have a food pantry or some combination. And again, people who are starting food co-ops, it's private. You can decide how you want it to work, right? So some combination, some discount, some pay as you go, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You'll find the right answer because you care. And when people care, they find the right answer. That's how it works. So, yes. All right. Let's see here. Andrea says, we have two local grocery stores. I buy from both. Not everything, but yeah. I have several here. And I will order some things. I will, because certain things I like specifically, I'll have to order. Some I'll go buy at local grocery stores. I still go to my local deli here or there, right? I still go to my local deli here or there. I do that sometimes also. So, yeah. All righty. Phil says, capitalism works because people work together voluntarily. 100% true. All right, let me get back to this piece if I could. I know I got triggered on this one, guys, and I apologize. But sometimes I get triggered, and I did get triggered. But I'm being good. Mike, don't be mad at me. I'm being good.
Food, a large portion of the population would have starved and another portion would have lived. But they had
That's what actually happened.
An elaborate rationing system, and there were lines. In the period when, for example, when I lived in the Soviet Union in the 1980s, there were not long lines in stores. You could go in and buy bread, and you could certainly go in and buy vegetables and other things.
It worked better and worse at different periods. My first trip there was in 1990.
It worked better and worse in certain periods. Yeah. Yet he admitted that once the government got out of it in 1840, until 1930, 36, it was working fine. 90 years worked fine. And then according to him, it didn't get bad till 1980. That's what he said. And then it got really bad in 2001. And then, but then not really, it really got bad in 2020. So all of a sudden, from 1840 to 2020, it was fine. But in 2020, it wasn't good. What was happening then? Lockdowns, which wrecked all local stores. All, I'm exaggerating, many local
very
stores.
tail end of the Soviet Union, and the economy was collapsing. You would literally go into a store, and what you'd see in the window was a carefully laid out pyramid of tuna fish cans. And you go into the store, and it would emerge that that's all there was. But that was very much.
She's admitting that. She's admitting that there was no food in the stores. She's admitting there's no food in the stores. Yeah. I think Mike is right here. He thinks she ends a plant by the CCP. Maybe. It could be. Because he's got nothing. He just, or maybe he just wants attention.
Things were quite a bit better in the 70s.
I would say there were also shortages in the 1980s under Brezhnev. And those shortages were not throughout the entire country. They were.
See, it wasn't the whole country, guys. It was just big chunks.
More concentrated in certain places than in others. For example, there were fewer shortages in places like the Caucasian republics in Armenia and Georgia. There was a wonderful array of fruits and vegetables.
Because they weren't following the Soviet. Oh my God. How can you? It's like saying my shirts are terrible. They're the worst shirts ever. These shirts are great. So please buy my shirt. Yeah, my shirt's terrible. Those shirts are awesome. Mine terrible. Buy my shirt. Why won't you buy my shirt? Buy my shirt. What do you mean, idiot? Buy my shirt. You just said your shirt's terrible. Yeah, my shirt's terrible. The other shirt's better. Yeah, that shirt over there is great. So buy my shirt. That's what they're saying.
And other things, even in the winter, in Moscow and Leningrad, that wasn't so much the case.
So she's literally saying in the places further away from the government that were ignoring the government rules, had their own black market, their own local market, you didn't have shortages. You didn't have problems. Yeah. But in Moscow, Leningrad, no, you had problems. Yeah.
But that wasn't because of socialism. I would say that.
Oh, that wasn't because socialism. Yan was right the whole time. Look at that. Yan was right the whole time. That wasn't because socialism. So stop with your lies, Phil. She's going to tell you what it was. It wasn't socialism. Okay, tell us what it was. It wasn't socialism.
It was because of the fact that.
Oh, she's stretching. It's because of the fact that, okay, give me a good one. Come up with something good. Come on.
The country was a lot poorer than the United States.
See, they were just poor. That's what it was. Why do you hate poor people, Phil? Huh? Why do you hate poor people, Phil? Why? You just hate poor people. It's because they were poor. That's what it was. Because Russia was poor. And no other country was poor, right? Other countries weren't poor. Remember all those famines other countries have? Oh, no, I don't remember them at all. But they were poorer than Russia, but they didn't have famine. Weird. Why didn't those other countries far poorer than Russia not have famines? Huh. Wait a minute. I don't get it. So there were countries that were less poor or more poor, poorer, that were poorer than Russia, than the Soviet Union, poorer than the Soviet Union, and didn't have famines. Nowhere near as many as famines as Soviet Union had, but the reason is because they were poor. That makes no sense, but that's fine. Keep going.
It attempted to make food available to all its people.
It attempted to make food available for all its people. That's the problem. You don't have to do that. It failed. You can just let people make food as they see fit. Was the American government attempting to make food for all of its people? No. This guy said that. He was lying. I showed you it's not true. They weren't. Did the American government, the local governments create markets for people to go to sell that food? Yes. They were distributing it and they weren't making it. People were just doing it because somebody said, man, I really like chicken. And someone said, hey, I got some chickens. How about I raise more of them and then I'll butcher them and give them to you for a price? And the guy said, that'd be great. I have money because I do this other thing. I like to buy some chickens. And they did. And then more people like chicken, and more people made chickens, and it just happened. That's called the market. That's called humanity. That's called government doesn't have to do shit. And we could have as much chicken and beef and pork and potatoes as we like. This is literally in the book, The Law by Frederick Bastiat. He spoke about in the 1830s that you do not require this. It will just work on its own. Russia, the Soviet Union tried and failed. China tried and failed. America didn't try shit and it worked.
And it was
What
also
else?
involved in a pretty debilitating.
Look at her stretching. It's not socialism. She just will. It can't be socialism. I'm gonna make up some shit. I'm just gonna pull stuff out and be like, it's the other thing. Go ahead.
Arms race.
It was an arms race. That's the problem. And the funny part is, no one else was in the arms race. America was not in the arms race. It was just Russia. Somehow America fed all those people. Weird. Weird how it happened. Were any famines in America at that time? It's weird how that didn't happen at all. Yeah. Huh. Wasn't America also in the same thing? Wasn't America also in the arms race? What? Yeah, I think it was.
So a lot of the budget, which might have been devoted toward, let's say, feeding people and clothing.
Yeah, and clothing people. What was America's budget for feeding people and clothing people back in the 50s and 60s? Oh, wait, zero.
People and doing a whole variety of other things.
These other
in terms
things.
of consumption had to be devoted to an arms race.
Now, no
See, that's the reason, guys. It wasn't socialism. It's because poor and arms race. See? Socialist people.
matter which side you're on with the idea of city-owned grocery stores, if you've read about this, you have read about Kansas.
Yes.
Kansas comes up because they have small towns, which means the grocery stores are small, which means the profit margins are small, which means
True.
grocery stores are harder to maintain in these areas.
No, that's a lie. No, because somehow for literally hundreds of years, grocery stores survived in towns. For hundreds of years, not tens of years, hundreds in small towns. They did survive. What changed? Government regulation. They're regulated out of existence. He won't say that though. He'll just go, it's small, so they can't survive. How come they survived for hundreds of years? Because he's full of shit.
In Kansas, there are two city-owned grocery stores about 8 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
One is doing well, and the other was last reported losing $100,000 a year. So what explains this? Well, one is in St. Paul, Kansas, population
Okay.
about 600, and the other is in Erie, Kansas, population about 1,000.
Okay.
Both cities came to own their own grocery stores to fill a need.
You
Okay.
lived here when there wasn't a grocery store. What was that like?
It was pretty rough, actually. You learned to pack coolers with you everywhere you went because we're literally 17 miles to the next Walmart, closest grocery store.
In Erie,
Yeah, Walmart. Why? Because you crushed everything else, didn't you? You crushed everything else. Yes.
there was a supermarket called Stubs. The owners wanted to retire, and they were
So there was a supermarket. It was working. He's literally, God, he can't help but tell it himself. He just said it. So it was working. As I told you, it was working. The Stubbs place was working and was surviving. Okay.
having trouble finding a buyer, so the city decided to buy it themselves.
So they couldn't find a buyer. Why? Because Stubbs was grandfathered in. That's the reason. All the new rules and regulations, Stubbs was grandfathered in. They didn't have to play the bullshit rules the government came in to wreck. So they could survive and make money. And like, hey, let's sell this place. But then someone else came in and said, oh, we're going to buy it. And the government said, Once you change hands, you are no longer grandfathered in. And all the bullshit that we've made up to ensure no one local can survive, you now have to pay all those prices. You now have to be wrecked. Make up, but Larry, it's good regulation. Why was Stubbs doing a fine job before? Were people dying from what they bought from Stubbs? Was the community just being destroyed when Stubbs was there without the regulations? No. The community was fine. People weren't dying. Stuff wasn't collapsing. None of that was happening when Stubbs had it. None of it was happening. The regulations weren't required for safety at all. They required to, of course, keep the corporate masters, because government always supports corporate masters. So local Stubbs is grandfathered in. They're fine. No worries. But once they sell, oh no, now we're going to smash you. That's what actually happened. But he won't say that because he's a government shill. He won't say that.
Because they were afraid of losing a supermarket altogether. So the city,
they knew that their system was so broken and destroyed that they had the government come in, because that's always their answer. Now, again, as I said earlier on when I'm talking here, I said you have another option. Stop the environment that crushes the small grocery store, or have government buy a grocery store. I'm saying stop the environment. Again, Stubbs proved to you. Evidence right there, Mr. Yan. Evidence right there, Jane, that you can just have a grocery store and people will just buy your food and they'll just do it.
he bought it and changed the name from Stubbs to Erie Market. Also, 70% of the residents voted for the city to buy the supermarket. And these are deep red.
See, as long as people vote for it, it's not violence. That's all that matters, because democracy is perfect. That's how it works. Looking over at Rumble, Phil says, oh no, I did that one already. Hold on. Phil says, a friend's grandmother was Mennonite in Ukraine. Volksdeutsch. Yes, Volksdeutsch, technically. And socialism whipped up envy against these people who were good farmers before sending them to Kazakhstan. Socialism is evil. Correct. Remember something. This is them to remember. And this is for you, Jan, if you're still watching, or Jane. In every single socialistly run country, every one, it turns into authoritarianism, and in every single one, no exception, they punish the minorities. Every time. Remember something. Mennonites and Amish can thrive in a libertarian society. Thrive. We wouldn't bother them at all. Good. Enjoy. It's all voluntary. They're very socialistic. Voluntarily. They choose to do that. You may leave. Awesome. You go on. You do you. Life is good. In socialism, you got to go. You got to follow the rules. Or we're going to come in and we're going to force you to follow those damn rules. That's how it works. That's how it works. Thank you for that, Phil. I appreciate it. Yes. All righty. Let me keep going here.
Places. Probably not a lot of democratic socialists over there. Now in St. Paul, Kansas, they had been without a grocery store since 1985. The nearest place was Walmart, 16 minutes away by car, or 5 hours on foot. And in the mid-aughts, the mayor made a big push to install a grocery store. The town was on board, and a husband and wife team bought the inventory, ran the store.
A husband and wife team? Wait a minute. Bought the store and started running it. Okay. So a family ran it. So hold on. If I get this, so if I get this right, the government said, let's support a local family to own something. Okay.
And I've read reports that the store turned a 3% profit. I wasn't able to verify that number, but someone from the city did emphasize to me that the store is a really important feature in the community.
Okay. So when a mayor doesn't buy the store, he sponsors a family to run the store, it works. But when the city buys the store, it fails.
So there was community buy-in from the start, and clearly enough people shopped there to make the store.
Okay, community buy-in, not community ownership. Note his word. This guy is a wordsmith. Holy shit. Yes. But I pay attention to every word he says. In case you haven't noticed, I've listened to every word this charlatan says.
Interestingly, city staff said they think their store thrives in part because they do not have a dollar store, meaning there is no other competition in town.
Oh, so there's no competition. Well, that kind of makes it easy. So what government should do is make sure no one else, this is what he's literally saying. Again, don't fool yourself. What he's saying is literally, so the government should make sure there's no competition. Andrea says it. Small businesses didn't have the leverage Walmart has because of government overreach. Thank you, Andrea. Yes, indeed. Yes, that's correct. Yep. Mike says, profit margin in supermarkets is average 1.3%. He wants to get revenue, and large volume mega stores represent mom and pop stores. Correct. He's full of crap. You're totally correct. He's absolutely full of crap. Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't make it. What he's saying, of course, makes no sense. He's being terrible in what he's thinking and what he's saying. Absolutely. So Elliot goes, regulate to monopolize. Yes. He's admitting it's like, see, if we only just made sure that we could just do that, let's just make sure that there's no competition. That'll solve the problem. That'll solve the problem. There we go. All righty. All right. Rye Sticker says, Heinz started the food regulations to crush ketchup competition. It worked. Yes. And this guy wants more of it. He's admitting to it. See, we just didn't have any competition. We'd be fine.
But Erie, Kansas does have a dollar store. It's right across the street from the Erie Market, and it's well documented at this point what that means. The owner of another small grocery store in Kansas.
Okay. He's literally saying government should stop competition. You can't make this shit up. You just can't. You can't make this up. If you're enjoying this at all, do me a favor. Remember, this is also on Spotify if you want to. You guys can listen to my stuff on Spotify. Give me that 5-star rating if you could. I appreciate it. Also, make sure you are sharing this and reposting this if you haven't already. Why do you hate me? Please reshare this. Repost this if you haven't already do so. Make sure you click on that button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. It does matter. So please click the button known as like. Share this to the best of your ability. And make sure you're following me and subscribing so I can do more of this. I know you're enjoying it. That's why you keep watching.
Kansas talked about what happened to him when a dollar store moved close by to his store.
Okay.
Sales dropped and just kept dropping. We averaged 225 customers a day before and immediately dropped to about 175.
He is literally saying two things. One, government should stop competition. He's saying it's true. But his next part, the problem here is, again, the Dollar General store is a franchise basically, right? But it's a massive corporation. Government supports them. That's the problem.
A year ago, we were down to 125 a day. Basically, we lost 35 to 40% of our sales. I lost $1,000 a day in sales in 3 years. His store closed. So basically, if you have a town that's big enough to maintain a single grocery store, there's not really room for a competitor. And then
why? Why is there no room for a competitor? He's like, there's no room, so just let it go. Okay. For some way, the Stubs place survived. Somehow it did. Why? You made a regulatory environment that an individual mom and pop can't survive, but a mega corporation, Dollar General, can. Change the government regulatory environment and things will change.
And a Dollar General comes in, a store which benefits from the lowest prices on inventory, notoriously exploitative labor practices.
It's because exploitative labor practices. Yes, you know why? Because the government allows and sets it up so the government will pay for all their health care. I'm not making that up.
And likely very few losses due to food spoilage because they mainly sell processed foods that could survive a nuclear blast.
Which the government has set up and told us is healthy. Yes. The FDA, which you love so much, is responsible for that. Yes. 100%. Yeah. Mike says, there were bread lines in 91. I paid people to wait on them. Yes, I am aware of that. Absolutely. And it says, where were the bread lines in the U.S. during World War II? Good point. Good point. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Capitalist supporters want to talk about hunger? Okay. Now you triggered me. You did. Let me be very clear about something. Very clear about something. People don't starve to death in capitalist countries because the food ran out. That's not a thing. They also don't starve to death because they can't afford food. That's not a thing. People do not starve to death because of food. People don't starve to death, period, in America. That's not a thing. I'm sorry. Because of cash. Do some people starve to death? They do. Here's how people do starve to death in America. Because we purposely do it. Like someone's on life support, we put it off. We allow them to starve to death. That is how people starve to death in America. Someone is an addict and they take nothing. They spend all money on drugs and they starve themselves to death. Someone has an ED. I can't say the word because I'll get canceled. An order that is dished regarding food. They have that. I know I've talked like a baby. It's YouTube. Sorry. They will. Yes, if I say that phrase, they will actually ban me for that. They have that, like Anna. Rex. So yes, like that, they will stop at that, but they're purposely doing it. Now we have a nutrition problem in America. That's for sure. We have a nutrition problem, but ain't nobody starving. Yeah, you are full of shit. You can stop that shit right now. Now you can say you don't like capitalism, whatever. Not happening. We have never, no capitalist country ever in the history of capitalism has ever had the famines that socialist companies have had. It's not even close, ever. Even we have had people suffer that, and that has happened in our history. It's not even close, nowhere near. If you even think of that, you are an absolute utter hack. You are absolutely either full of shit or you're making stuff up 100% right. This is not your ideology or you're that dumb. One of those three. There is absolutely, that does not happen. That's not a thing. Are there poor people in capitalism? Yeah. Drug issues? Yes. Nutrition issues? Yes. Starvation? No. Is there hunger? Sometimes, yes. But we're talking in these eras, not hunger, not someone going to bed hungry. We're talking about people starving to death. That happened in these countries. That didn't happen in America. It's not a thing. You've made that up. You're full of shit. Not a thing. You've made that up. You're full of shit. So yes. All right. Let me keep going down here if I can. All righty. So many of these. Get me a little bit triggered. I'm done now, Mike. See, I'm being good. I'm done now. See? I'm being good. All right. Let's see here. Andrew says, can't hear over the Soviet violin in the background. That's actually funny. Yes. I guess trying to make you feel bad, maybe. Is that the goal? Maybe trying to make you feel bad? Maybe that's it. I don't know if it's working or not. So yeah. All right. Mike says, I'm with you on this, Larry. The lies in this topic by Mamdani and Socialists drive me insane. It does. It's look, I understand if you want to have a real argument. This isn't an argument. This is just lies. Especially I have firsthand experience they don't have when I deal with dog. I've been living. Oh yeah. I'd be yeah. If I were not dealing with a dog, I'd be living in the chat. So yeah, I get it. So I'm glad you have I'm glad you have your dog then. So yes, because then you and I would both be doing it. So I'm glad. All right. Anyway, let me keep going down here if I can. So many of these, I appreciate that. Michael says, Larry, use your safe word. That's good. Andrea says, when historians trust the truth and we wonder why we don't trust academia. Wow. So well done, Andrea. You're right. They're literally doing this. And then yeah. Ride Sticker says, Venezuela gives free food, all junk carbs, free internet, and free gas to all the people who have nothing else. Free equals almost free. Yeah. And they're still coming here left and right. Yes. Yep. So, all right. Dave says, Larry, the U.S. government didn't tell people that weren't farmers to grow food. Yeah. People just did it. They just did it. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Excuse me. Dave said, why did the Soviet Union have to develop weapons to export ideology? Good point. Good point. Yes. Absolutely. Yep.
Which also have the greatest margin anyway. And the Dollar General just wins every time.
Soviet Russia is now a world power to be reckoned with.
What's the core difference between Zohran's proposal and what was happening in the Soviet Union?
Tell me.
That's just like a totally different kind of situation.
Yeah, dismissiveness. You're just dumb. You're just dumb.
These stores are going to, if they come to pass, they'll operate within a market economy.
If the city buys food, it will buy it from either agricultural corporations or large food corporations that will sell that food to the city for a profit. In the Soviet Union, all production for profit had been eliminated.
Both wholesale and resale.
They just explained how the local people were able to make profit, right? Did I miss something?
Retail prices were set by a centralized planning agency.
Yes.
Mamdani is...
Okay, hold on. Okay, maybe... Okay. Didn't they just say that there were two different ways of making food, getting food out in the Soviet Union? One was the government way. That's the one that provided not what you wanted for low price, not what you wanted. And when it ran out, you literally starved to death. That was option one. Then there was option two, which was the private market back and forth where people made most of their money and it was more expensive, but you got what you wanted. You could find, as she said, right? You could find the fruit that you wanted or the food that your rabbit that you wanted. She said that, right? So you want the rabbit, you can go get the rabbit over there. But if it's the government one, you get whatever they got. If they got chicken, you're eating chicken. or whatever it is, right? But you can get rabbit someplace else. That's what she said. Now, like, oh, that's not how it's going to work here. How's it going to work here? Who's going to decide? She just said the government's going to buy from these food corporations. It's going to be some kind of bidding contract, right? That's how it always works because you have to, because it's government. So whatever that company sells is what you're getting. It's the old Soviet model, right? And the government's going to force them to be cheap because that's what government does. So if they do that, you're going to get cheap processed food and you're going to get chicken and whatever you're going to get, whatever they tell you. That's what's going to happen, right? What are these guys, smoking crack?
Operating within a capitalist ecosystem. And he's going to provide food to people, presumably without an additional markup. But
why would there be no additional markup? Is it going to be taxpayer funded? Is that the answer? Okay, assume that it is. Let's say it's taxpayer. Does that mean these people are going to be government workers? If that's the case, they're all going to be unionized. They're going to get $7,000 an hour or whatever. They're going to make them, whatever.
The ecosystem is still capitalist.
I'm pretty skeptical, but.
And she's unhappy about that. They're both unhappy. Here's the worst part. These two people he brought on are so broken that they explained how bad this system was and are sad that it won't be that system. I'm not making that up. You just saw it. They've explained how bad that system was and then are sad it's not that system. You know, my shirt's garbage. So sad everyone can't have my shirts.
That's just, as I say, I'll be curious if they make it work. More power to.
It can't work. Even she said it can't work.
The very idea that we could do things in this country in a different way.
Whenever you hear people say, and in this country, they hate this country.
That would benefit working people is a threat to corporate profit.
Okay. Where were the famines that killed all the working people? They didn't exist. What has made it impossible for working people to move up in this world? In America, by the way, which she's right on this. Working people don't get to move up anymore. What was the thing that stopped them? It was, government. That literally made sure everything was monopolized. Yes.
Even if economically it's not actually a threat, it's the idea that's so threatening.
Now, what if the people who seem to be the most threatened by that idea are actually kind of secret socialists themselves? Because
they're secret socialists. That's what, you were wondering, Andrew. That's your problem, Andrew. You didn't recognize that the people who actually are against this are themselves secret socialists. See that? Mike, you secret socialist. He's going to show you how you were a secret socialist. You didn't know that. You are. Tell everybody how Mike's a secret socialist. Go ahead.
Earlier, I mentioned John Catsimatidis. And after working on this video, reading about all these things, calling random supermarkets in Kansas, I started wondering, how does Gristedes survive these conditions?
How does he do that?
They're small. They can't compete with big chains. The Gristedes I was in front of at the beginning never has as many people in it as the Trader Joe's 8 blocks away. And a friend of mine told me that he calls it Greedy's instead of Gristedes, probably because they charge $21 for Dunkin' Donuts coffee that's $8.
Literally just an attack. Look at what this piece of garbage just did. He just attacked a local New Yorker who owns local New York stores and pumped Amazon and Dunkin' Donuts, and he says he's a socialist. What a piece of shit this guy is. Wow. He just did that. Well, because he's greedy. So he's greedy, but Dunkin' fucking Donuts and Amazon, they're not. Catsimatidis, whatever you think about him, is a local New Yorker. Whatever you think about him, who has local stores, who services the local community. And this guy is like, fuck that guy. Let's go to Amazon and Dunkin' Donuts. If you want something in Amazon, Dunkin' Donuts, do they get it for you? No. Gristedes, they do. They do. They're a local store. You can go in and say, I'd like X, Y, and Z, and they'll get it. Yeah, you don't get that here. But that's what he just said.
$8 on Amazon. So how does Gristedes overcome this? They don't. They don't make a profit. At some point, I'm sure they did, But Catsimatidis came to own them in the 80s, and since then, they have almost always lost money. Based on these estimates, Gristidis might lose up to $4.7 million a year. The stores survive because they are subsidized by Catsimatidis' other businesses.
Yes.
Also, a lot of Gristidis exist in buildings that Catsimatidis owns.
Yes.
And in that case, they don't pay rent. Sounds familiar? Which means, in a sense, the people...
He is mad. I want to be clear on this. He is mad that Catsimatidis provides a service to the local people in buildings that he owns. So he's able to be there cheaper because he owns the building. Okay. Not just that, the people in the building pay rent. So they subsidize his store. Okay. What that means is the market. He's a real estate owner. So he's using his real estate to provide services to the people in the building who go to the store downstairs. So the store is valuable to the people who live in the building and pay rent. That is the capital market. What taxpayer is paying for that? Oh, wait, none. How is Catsimatidis forcing you, Mike Voss, you, Shelley, you, Larry Sharpe, to pay for his store? He's not. This is the private market doing what he wants with his own private market. This guy thinks that's terrible. Why? Because government's not involved. That's what makes it bad. I'm not making that up. He just said it. He just said it. So Catsimatidis says, okay, great. I own a building and people pay rent my building and it's a residential building. Well, they would like to have food to eat that's right downstairs. So I'll provide them with a supermarket downstairs that they can walk downstairs and have a supermarket. And if they want something, they can say what they want and they'll have the supermarket. He's serving his customers. Capitalistic way. Evil capitalism. He doesn't want that. He thinks that's bad. He's a secret socialist. That's what a moron this guy is.
People who live above a Gristidis are also subsidizing the Gristidis.
Yes, with their rent, so they can have a Gristidis, literally an elevator right away. Yes.
He's doing his own private socialism. He's doing a socialism, but just in a...
No, he's doing business, but you're too stupid to know that because you don't know what you're talking about and you shouldn't even have a show. And it's embarrassing that Breaking Point, that Crystal and friends put you on. It's shameful that they gave you time. Shameful.
Kind of pointless way. So
it's pointless to provide people in your rental building with the supermarket at the bottom of your building. That's pointless.
Catsimatidis came to the same conclusion Zohran came to and that small towns in Kansas came to, which is maybe maintaining a grocery store is more important than turning a profit.
No, that's not. No, this guy is pulling shit out of his ass. Literally just, how about this thing? No. Zohran Mamdani has said, you all should pay for my government store. And I'm not going to change anything that would make it easier for a family to own a grocery store. No, I'm not doing that. So shut up and take the food that I tell you to take. Shut up and take what I tell you when I tell you to do it. And have the store hours that I decide open when I decide to do so. And centralized planning will always work, which it never works ever, but it will always work. What Catsimatidis did is say, no. I need to provide a service for the people who are paying rent. So I'll give them a grocery store. That makes a lot of sense. I can buy the entire building and I can do what business people do, which is spend money here or there. And it's all left pocket, right pocket. So I still make money either way. And I can still give you what they need. And they can open a store when they want to open a store, get what they want in that store. That's what he did. He didn't say, you have to pay for my store. He didn't come to the conclusion that, you know what? I think you should pay for my store. He didn't do that. Mamdani came to that conclusion. Catsimatidis did not come to that conclusion at all. This guy's full of shit. Not just that. If Catsimatidis had his way, and I know he has a goddamn radio show and talks about it all the time, if he could change the environment so that it'd be easier to own a grocery store, he would do it. He's run for office before. He would do it. Mamdani would not. They have not come to the same conclusion at all, my friend. Not at all. Habibi. No, my friend. You're wrong. It's not even close. Kintsugi in the house. She says, reshare this if you don't hate Larry. Hi, guys. Down with socialism. Yes, all true and true. Andrew says, most socialists pretty much own up to that point. Stop competition. True. You're not wrong. They do. Yeah, it's true. Shelley says there are no dollar stores left. Yes, they're called Dollar General, but they're not actually they're not actually dollar stores. True. Yes, absolutely. So, Yan's still here. Never learns. Live under capitalism is like live under depression and economic dictatorship. You're right. It's utterly true. You look at all the people who are just flooding out of America and rushing to Cuba. Oh, no, wait. But they're all rushing to North Korea. Oh, no, they're not. They're all rushing to China. Wait, no, they're not. Okay, it's fine. They're all rushing to, I don't know where they're rushing to. You made that up. You made that up. Utterly made it up. Literally zero evidence of that. Completely. You made that up. But that's fine. It makes you feel good. You can keep doing it if you want to. Yeah. So anyway, okay. Let me walk down the road here. All right. Kim, only in America can we starve to death with a full belly. True. Absolutely true. Yes. I think that's accurate. Yeah. All righty. Let's see here. Duke of Hex, thank you for $2. Anti-capitalism is a mental disorder. I say this all the time, guys, and I mean this. And I know already how Yan actually feels and how Jane actually feels. And I mean this seriously with compassion when I say it. Unhappy people want authoritarianism. It's true. Unhappy people want that. Sad people want that. Broken people want that. Yan is unhappy. So is Jane. They're unhappy. The system isn't working for them. And you know what? They're right. It isn't. The system is not working for them. They're right. It's not. The problem is this is the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. That's the problem. So, yeah. Anyway, let me move down here if I can. All righty. Michael says, don't feed the trope. Yeah, it's probably true. Yes. All righty. Yan, Sharpe, your chat is dumb like you are. Ban him, Mike. Don't insult my chat. You can insult me all day long. Please ban him, Mike. Get rid of him. I will not accept that. I will not accept that. That I won't accept. You can yell at me all day, call me names all day. I will not accept that at all. This chat's fucking brilliant. Feel free to get rid of him. I don't mind. All righty. Any case. Let's see here if I'll grab some of these if I can. All righty. Shelly says, I don't hate anyone, but I won't accept their lies either. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. All righty. Let's see here. Any more of these? All right. Rick says, socialist countries have to build walls to keep people in. Yeah. We've got so many of these. I appreciate it. All right. Let me finish this up if I could.
The only difference is that Zohran stores also wouldn't pay property taxes, which is actually huge because in the city, a medium-sized grocery store might pay close to as much in property taxes as it actually nets in profit.
So why don't you just eliminate property tax for grocery stores? What? He just gave the fucking answer. Eliminate property tax for grocery stores. Why do you have to have the federal government? I'm sorry, city government own a store. He just gave the answer. So, and people are behind this guy. Duke of X, unhappy people cannot fathom their own problem. They're their own problem. It's almost someone else's fault. The cognitive dissonance is strong with these people. Insanely strong. Yes. Insanely strong. Yes. So, yeah. Wow. That drives me crazy. Wow. Okay. Kevin says, how can anyone hate you? I love listening to you. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Kevin. I do appreciate that. Yes. All righty. God. Just do that. Like, that's the plan. That is do that as the plan. Way better. Yes. Okay. I mentioned, all right, let me just keep going. I got triggered on that one.
To sum this up, municipally owned grocery stores and markets can work. They worked, albeit in a different form for like a couple hundred years.
Okay. Literally not true. He literally made that up. Nothing he said that made that true. They didn't work. Community, that's not a thing. No.
Zohran's proposal for city-owned grocery stores can work. If other people in power are willing to fight for it and they don't get in the way, if there's deep community engagement, if some huge chain doesn't move in and derail everything.
Expect more target.
Wow. What is that? Why is that?
It's coming to New York City.
Oh, targets,
there are
okay.
variables, but it can work. Don't be fooled by
Okay, it can't work, won't work, never works. You're the
fear-mongering about the Soviet Union and choice. Also,
choice. You idiot. You people want, look at them like choice. Daniel wants choice. Choice, Daniel. What's wrong with you? You and your choice. Like you get to choose things. Put that someplace else. Choice.
30 different kinds of cereal is not choice. And what kind of
30 isn't choice? I tell you how many bowls of cereal, I'm sorry, how many kind of cereal you get. You open your mouth, tell me how much cereal. I decide. He decides how many types of cereals you get. He literally just said that. That's not choice. He said that. This dude just said that. At least he's honest.
choice do you have when a grocery store can leave your neighborhood because it wasn't profitable enough? That
You shouldn't be allowed to leave. You see what he said? A grocer's allowed to leave. No, you will stay there. What's wrong with you? Choice. You don't get your, at least his authoritarianism is screaming. And there's people saying, Larry, I hear it all the time. That's not what socialism is. It's about the workers owning, blah, blah. He's not saying that. At what point did he say that the store should be worker co-ops? Never said it once. At what point did he say what we should do is have a community actually put their own money into it and then buy it and own it for the community? When did he say that? Never. Never. Everything he said is about is about centralized control. Everything he said. And then he goes, it's not Soviet Union. He literally brought up the Soviet model. This guy's a damn joke. Crystal and Saga, what were you thinking putting this moron on your show? You have just made me never want to watch Crystal and Friends ever again. How could you put him on? He's an embarrassment. He's terrible. Everything he says is wrong.
That's not choice. That's the illusion of choice. But that
See? Okay, Kintsugi, let's get this straight. See? You being able to choose between 30 different types of cereal, that's illusion of choice. Real choice is when I tell you what cereal you can have, when you can have it, and if all of a sudden somebody can't get the cereal that they want, too bad. And if the store can't make money, too goddamn bad. You're staying. That's what you get. That's real choice. Get it right, Kintsugi, okay? You guys, you don't get it. Like you being able to decide the food that you want to eat, that's illusion of choice. But when I tell you where you're going to have it, and I stop competition, which is what he said, and when I decide what goes in that store, which is what he said, and when I don't let that store leave, even if they suck, which is what he said, then and only then will you really have choice.
That's what the free market gave us. Whether it's New York butchers in the 1840s or Kroger.
It's the free market. The free market gave us New York butchers that whatever we wanted and Kroger's to have the good stuff.
In Walmart in the 1980s or a Dollar General in Kansas today. The dynamic is amazingly similar. A large food interest with ever-increasing size and power benefits from that size and power by getting the
No. Oh, no. The dynamics is exactly the same, isn't it?
themselves deregulated. They then buy in
the opposite. They don't get themselves deregulated. They get more regulation.
Inventory for impossibly low prices such that no small stores could ever compete.
No, because he just showed you how the small stores did compete. Stubs competed. He's making this up. And I remember in 2018, there were still local stores in my area. I did a video. I had video evidence of this. It's called the hoodie video that I did in 2018. It was still there. What changed? 2020 lockdowns. Government is what ended this. Government ended this. That's what happened.
Profits come first, and their role in a given community come way after that, if at all. So they don't care if they.
You literally explained how Katsimatidis is serving his local areas and somehow surviving. Does Walmart do that?
Destabilize a system of public markets, or if they force out of business the one place within walking distance where you can actually buy a vegetable, and they're not afraid to exit entirely, leaving a town or neighborhood with nothing but convenience stores.
Why would they close? Right? He just said one of the worst things is how much tax they pay. His words, not mine. His words, taxes. Well, that means it's an environment where they can't survive.
And bodegas. And then, as the public entities weaken because they're suffocated by a Dollar General, whose CEO, by the way, made $183 million between 2015 and 2021, you have people ready to.
See, he made a lot of money. He's evil. Sorry, guys. You can't listen to him. The guy made a lot of money. He's evil. See, Kintsugi finally gets it. He goes, yeah, thanks for telling me what I can have. I sure so appreciate it. It's because I care about you. I care about you. That's what it was. That's the point. See? Jean says our last presidential election was an illusion of choice for sure. Yes. She goes on to say, actually, our political system is an illusion of choice. True. Absolutely true. Yes. Yeah. Phil says, I like how people think that being able to vote is more choice than being able to go to a store with hundreds of different types of cereals. Yeah. Here, if you don't like the cereals, here's the advantage. You can just not buy them. And if you stop buying cereal, if people stop buying a certain type of cereal, they'll stop selling it. Because to his point, the evil profit margin, profit motive, they would stop making the cereals that people don't like. The reason why they have those cereals is because somebody wants to eat those cereals. And good for them. You get to have, I mean, I don't eat cereal, but so what? You should eat what you like to eat, what you feel comfortable paying for. And that's what stores do. But he won't even let you leave.
To point to it and say, oh, look, it failed, just like in the Soviet Union, when in fact,
yes,
it's not at all like in the Soviet Union.
It's literally the Soviet Union. You've just expressed
public supermarkets here fail in an extremely American way. They're crushed by mega corporations. Well, hopefully you found this video interesting. My name is Spencer Snyder.
And you are horrible. I think I'm going to reach out and see if I can have you on my show. I will try to not get too triggered if I do. Really bad. I was so triggered by that video. I had to show you that. I was so triggered. Okay. I put a lot into that one. I've actually sweat. I'm not joking. I literally sweat because I was so stressed on that one. That one drove me crazy. That was one of the worst I've ever seen. That was so bad. I want to cover a couple things if I could. The first thing I do want to cover if I could, guys, do me a favor. When you have a second, I want you to head on over to the Advocates. I ask you every show. Why? Because they're a sponsor. They help us out. Please do so. There's a link in both on Rumble, Facebook, and also YouTube. You want to help me out? You do? I'm glad you do. Head on over there, click that link, take one of these surveys. I think the Doge single issue survey is an interesting one to take one of those surveys. Once you take it, once you're done, please go ahead and share it and use the same link, share the same link that you used to get there. Every time you do it, it's free. It helps out the advocates. It's the Advocates for Self-Government. They are about having better conversations about people actually understanding who they are, why they think the way they think, and having tough conversations about the ideas of coercion in our government. Real conversations. When is coercion okay? When is coercion not okay? When do you feel it's the right answer? And how much do you feel? These are important issues that we deal with. So please take one of these surveys and share it. Click the link specifically that's in the description, either on Facebook or on YouTube or on Rumble, any of those three. And please take one of these surveys and share it. Please share it. It does matter. I know it seems like nothing. It does matter. I appreciate it, guys, tremendously. Also, to be sure, tomorrow I will have Larkin Rose on the show, and Wednesday will be the civil only show. That will be the last show of the week, because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday I will be out traveling across New York State. Yes, I will. I will be in Madison County on Thursday night. I will be in Watertown Friday afternoon. I will be in Oswego County Friday at night. Excuse me. I'll be at the New York Fair on Saturday. I'll be in Johnstown. I think that's Fulton County. Is that right? Or is that Montgomery? I forgot which one of those. One of them county. Is that Montgomery? I think it's Montgomery. Anyway, it's in the area. Saturday night. Sunday, I'll be in Washington County and then somewhere in the Hudson Valley. I will let you guys know. I'll be posting it on social media tomorrow and or the day after, so you can see if you can get up there and come see me. I'm live. It'll be a place you can just come. It'll either cost you nothing or maybe like, I don't know, buy something at a local area, something like that. Go buy something there. Hang out there. Talk to me. I'll be there live. Chat all day. We'll chat. I'll be there for a bit of time. I think you'll enjoy it. I do it often, as you guys know. So please jump on that if you would. Let me grab. And of course, like I always say, click the button known as like. Like button does count. So yes. All right, let me grab a couple of these if I can. Let's see here. Kentucky says, Busy Bee. I am, absolutely. Phil says the full sharp. This is full sharp number 7 I'm trying to finish. I'm behind on my full sharps. So I do have to do more of that. I need more and more of the full sharps. So I'll be working on more of those. I hope so. So yes, guys, do me a favor. Once this show is over, please, if you would, comment. Comment on what you think about these when we think about these stores. We think about Mamdani stores. Tell me what you think. What do you think about or you know what? No. I've changed my mind. No. Comment on what you think about breaking points. Do that. That might trigger some people. I was triggered. Maybe we can counter trigger. So please comment on what you think about breaking points. Do that in the comments afterwards. I will respond to the best of my ability. Remember, if this is not live, you're going to see 2 videos pop up right away here. If it's not live, and do me a favor, watch one of them immediately for at least like 8 minutes or so. The algos love that too. I will see you all very soon.